Hello once again, and welcome to the Race All-Star Series powered by Rocket Phones. It's the month of May, and therefore we've got something very special for you this evening.
It's race day. The place is the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Right now, the heroes responsible for creating some of the greatest moments in the history of this track are preparing to return. Return to the place where they cemented themselves in the history books. Masters of their craft, they will be applying their years of experience to a new modern form of racing. Racing in the virtual world. Now names that are synonymous with a 2.5-mile circuit. Andretti, Fittipaldi, Montoya, Franchitti, they have all had the sweet taste of milk in victory lane. Others have not been so lucky. Will they get redemption on the circuit where glory came so close? In a virtual world, the word retirement does not exist. Their competitive edge and desire to win is as strong as ever, and newcomers to the mecca of racing will try their luck. Champions in their own right from around the world. The best grid of drivers ever assembled, about to take to the track as the race comes to Indianapolis.
The best grid of drivers ever assembled, and that might be the best statement yet because we've got so many legends, and you may recognize that voice. We've got another legend joining us. Paul Page, how are you, sir?
I am absolutely excellent. I'm so excited to be part of this. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the voice of the Indy 500 for so many years. How many Indies were you actually involved in?
I've been involved with the Indianapolis 500 on network radio or television since 1977, and I've been covering the race since 1970. So a long time. Wow. I can't even count that high.
That's incredible. A lot of history. And a lot of these drivers you would have seen there in their time, in their heyday. And like you said, now they get to go back at it. Obviously joined again by Julian Palmer. Julian, we had Fernando Alonso join us last week, which was pretty cool, and we'll get to that. But this week, probably one of the biggest names in the motorsport world ever in any country, no matter who you speak to. Mario Andretti is going to join us. That's got to be pretty cool even for you.
It's really cool. 80 years old, Mario Andretti. I can't believe how he's that old. He just doesn't look it. He obviously doesn't feel it because he's back in for this sim race. And Formula One champion, Indy 500 winner, he is an absolute legend either side of the pond. So I can't wait for this.
Very cool. I think he's actually going to be standing by to have a chat with us about how he's been preparing for this.
Hey, Mario, how are you doing? I'm personally having trouble hearing you, but that's not unusual for me. It's good to see you, and I personally am having trouble hearing you. Maybe the audience can, but it's good to see you here. The great ambassador, the most remarkable driver in the world, Daytona 500, Indianapolis 500, World Driving Championship. It goes on and on and on, and you're the greatest ambassador for IndyCar racing I know.
Well, I love the sport, as you can imagine. It's been my life, and I love all of motor racing. That's an easy one.
I see some gray. You see some gray in me. Are you really up to this? I mean, we're digital men trying to survive we're analog men, and we're trying to survive in a digital world. What are the challenges for you?
Well, I don't know where to start. Quite honestly, this has been a steep learning curve because, only been at it for just a little bit, a few days. So I have a lot to catch up to. I'm learning something every time out, every day. I'm probably not learning enough or quick enough, but I'm having a blast. So that's the important thing. And we'll try to survive it. We'll fight the best way we can.
That sounds great. We're going to be all eyes on you. Of course, there's some pretty stout drivers otherwise that are watching you today. Thanks for being on board, Mario.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Very, very cool to have Mario there. And like you say, a ton of drivers going against him. Fernando arguably chasing to try and win an Indy. Don't forget as well, we've got our other drivers, our pro drivers and sim drivers. Mario's actually been using Rudy Van Buren to get competitive as quickly as he can, but don't forget about them. This is how the rest of the day shapes up. Excuse me. Okay, so I thought we were going to do, but yes, I was going to say, of course, we do still have the Pro Cup and the Sim Masters. So while with the Indy Oval is for the legends at this point in time, we also use, Julian, the inner field course. The Formula One Indycar uses it as well to get the sim guys in their Formula race cars. So we do have a nice long straightaway, but a nice technical track as well, which we're going to get to, and we'll get into that very, very soon. But I am absolutely looking forward to the Oval and to the legends. That has to be the highlight of the series so far on week 4. Well, we carry on the live stream, and thank you again to everyone that is joining us. As we said, this is an incredible grid, but we touched on it very briefly, Julian, someone you raced against in real life, and we saw last week in Sim. Fernando Alonso had his debut. It wasn't all lovely, though, was it? I mean, it looked kind of interesting at times. There was potential.
I'll tell you what, there's a lot of potential, to be honest. It certainly wasn't all roses. He was in the walls, to put it politely. But he only actually had a sim rig turn up just the day before the race, and he still qualified pretty high. I think he was on the 2nd or 3rd row of the grid, which is a competitive grid as well. And from there, he found a lot of trouble in the races. But he's so competitive. He's one of the most, maybe probably the most ruthless competitor I've raced against. And I expect he's done some mileage, and he's going to be a real factor today.
Oh, I can absolutely imagine. And Paul, you would have seen him obviously at Indy just 2 years ago and know all about his Formula One history. How do you think he'll fare being back on the oval, and how determined will he be?
I think he'll be remarkable. All of the problems that he had here 2 years were nothing to do with him, had to do with mistakes otherwise, lack of commitment otherwise. I think that's all gone. He was enormously popular with the fans. And anytime he came out, they were flocking him. And additionally, he was so gracious with them. I mean, he's such a nice human being, such a nice man. And pretty much when I, as a journalist, ask a question, he'll give me a very, very straight answer, and I like it. And my good friend Johnny Rutherford, of course, was working with McLaren for all of that.
Well, here's a look at some of his highlights from last week. Obviously, we were at Circuit Zandvoort. It was the first time we actually saw it in a race, the new version of it, that is. So it was kind of cool for that respect. But yeah, Julian, you were part of this. This was pretty chaotic for him.
Yeah, I think that moment there pretty much summed it all up. He started towards the front, and then since then just got involved in a lot of just little tangles on this old school legendary circuit. But it was quite punishing. And I mean, in the sim world, we've seen it so many times. Jenson Button is leading our championship in the Legends. His first week, he wasn't right at the front, but then he came forward because you do need a bit of mileage to catch up. And Fernando showed epic overtakes like this on Franchitti and Petter Solberg. But ultimately, I think he was just a little too on the edge, probably, for the amount of mileage he'd put in. And mixed some sweet moves with some horrendous incidents like this one, which gave him too much damage to carry on.
Yeah, and damage is certainly a factor. We'll get to that as well. But I guess quickly, Paul, does it count if he wins this Indy 500 for the Triple Crown? We'll have to find out. Well, welcome back again to the Race All-Star Series powered by Rocket Phones, joined once more again by Paul Page, Julian Palmer, and we're going to get very, very near to the action. We've discussed a lot about the legends, so much talent in this driver pool. There's some new boys as well. There's some new blood that'll be joining the Oval regime, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Guys like Jenson Button, Petter Solberg that have never really been around this track at speed. And Paul, how hard is that to really adapt to right away?
Well, the really great drivers, and I assume in this case we're talking these guys, are going to adapt extremely quickly, but they'll get to a point. There's a plateau, and then it's difficult to try and get just above that plateau. So you have to be gentle with the car. You have to keep the momentum going with the car, and that's the greatest point they'll have to learn. And then how to deal with the car in front of them is even more important.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason I asked you that question now was more so because our other commentator said, well, how hard could it be? Of course, that being Jack Nichols. He's going to be joining us in just a second, but we had to bring you in to make sure that you really got the details out, because there is a lot to this. And Julian, you'll know well, just from drafting an aspect, think of how much there is to have to work with in these corners at that speed and how much air really is a factor.
Yeah, it's going to be critical in terms of the whole racecraft. I mean, my oval experience is the absolute contrast to pools. I've never been to one. I've never driven one. But I've watched them, and clearly drafting is a huge thing. It's the same in sort of European racing. And you go to Monza, you go to Spa, the slipstream is huge. In oval racing, it's everything. And close quarters battling. I can imagine for these guys, the ones that haven't done it before, when they're suddenly going these speeds, drafting critically, but with cars millimeters either side, there's a bit of a propensity for some chaos. So technical, definitely. And that's why we've got Paul here and not Jack.
Well, we do actually have Jack. We are going to bring him in. He will be joining us for today's races. Obviously, had to get the voice back in. You know, we got one legend commentator already, maybe two with Julian. That's up for debate. But Jack, we'll have you as well. I suppose that's okay.
No, look, is Julian a legend? Up for debate. Am I a legend? There's no debate about it. I'm not.
Ah, okay. We agree on that then. All right.
Yeah.
Well, this will be a lot of fun for you, obviously, coming in and experiencing ovals, as they just touched on lots of technical points. But what are you most looking forward to in this race?
Well, I think the oval is going to be a standout. Really looking forward to watching that unfold, but also the championship battle in the Sim Masters and in the Pro Cup, because we're getting towards the end of this season. Obviously, next week is the grand finale, so that's where it's going to be interesting to see what happens as far as the points are concerned. And today could play a big role in that.
Well, and today is on screen right now for you, because this is how it's all going to play out. You mentioned it. Championship is a factor for both the drivers and the manufacturers. Slightly different schedule this week. Obviously, the legends, we're giving them 25 minutes on the Indy track. And then in the infield, the boys will be playing around for 11 minutes apiece for the Pro Cup, Sim Masters race. And even on the oval, yes, we are doing the reverse grids for everyone as is standard, which that could be kind of interesting as well, given the draft and sort of the pace of the Indy drivers. There's a look at obviously both circuits. The biggest change this week, Julian, is that we go to the Dallara DW12. So more contemporary machinery for the legends as opposed to the old school Formula One cars. Something very suited, very modern to this circuit.
Absolute chalk and cheese. The old Brabham that they were driving, the 70s Formula One machinery that preferred to go sideways than straight, is now switched to this Dallara DW12, where you don't want to be getting it sideways around this oval. You want to be so precise with the steering inputs, not scrubbing any speed. It's pretty much an absolute 180-degree U-turn on driving style. So, I mean, these guys are legends for a reason. I'm sure it won't take them long to adapt, but it's a new thing for many of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to note as well, the big change, Jack, which maybe we know from watching so many of the races gone by already, is no damage for Indy.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, very important for these drivers. I think it's going to be very, very busy on the oval circuit. There'll be regular damage in the pro races and the Sim Masters, but none on the oval.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to see if that plays a factor. It certainly means everyone gets to stay in it, and that's what we want when we've got to name the best grid park probably ever in racing on the track. Well, as with all the action on track, there's lots that you can do at home as well to win a competition today. We all want to be some winners. Rocket Phones has given up a great competition that you can get involved in, and we'll take a look at that right now. If you'd like a chance to win a Rocket Phone featuring 3D screen technology, just go to rocketphones.com and answer this question. Who are the current Williams Formula One drivers? Not only that, there will be some great offers available exclusively to the race fans on rocketphones.com right now. All you need to do is enter the promo code RACEOFFER and you'll receive a free pair of Rocket earbud headphones worth $44.99 when you buy any phone. You can currently purchase a Rocket IO Pro phone for just £99 or the Rocket IO 3D for just £69, giving race fans a great deal on a new phone. There's lots of different ways to go about the Indy 500, Paul. I'm sure you're going to educate us on that over the day. It's strategy, it's speed, it's fuel saving, it's tires. But one driver who knows quite a bit about that is actually Helio Castroneves, and I think we've got a chance to speak with him now.
That's me.
Helio, we call him Spider-Man. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well. Hey, Paul, great to hear from you, buddy.
It's last time we were truly close together. I gave you a big hug in the winner's circle at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but you're still looking for that third win. If you win it here, does that count?
Oh, well, I don't think so. It would be great to have in my resume in the virtual world, but no question, in the real world, it's a little bit different. But I'm up for the challenge. I'm enjoying it, obviously, with this amazing group of people, amazing group of drivers. It's just a blast to be around those guys and able to have a little bit of fun in this difficult time.
How confident do you think you're going to be with this virtual racing?
You know, it is interesting because virtual, it says it all. I mean, even that it's a realistic image. It's very close, by the way. It's incredible image, incredible sight scenes, but you don't actually feel the car, you know? It's just like in the steering wheel, and that's the biggest challenge. But I feel that we have a great potential, especially here in Indianapolis. I know I've been driving with some of my competitors, and they're doing really well. It just, you don't have the spotter, so sometimes you lose, some of the guys lose a blind side and end up hitting each other. But in the end of the day, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I definitely miss to be at Indianapolis right now.
Great. Thank you very much for joining us, Helio. Really looking forward to seeing how you get on this afternoon. Best of luck.
And welcome back again to the Race All-Star Series powered by Rocket Phones. We're going to power ourselves straight into the first race of the day. The Pro Drivers' Cup is on the cards, and it's pretty tight at the top. We haven't had a lot of time to talk about this championship, Jack, but there's a lot going on in this table, both in the manufacturers and the drivers themselves. Gutierrez has distanced himself at the top of the field, but it's the second last week. It's crunch time.
Yeah, Gutierrez has done good things, and the strength he has is qualifying on pole and winning races. Your Nicky Teams, your Canapinos, your Charlie Eastwoods, they're consistent, but they don't necessarily win the races themselves. So Gutierrez is going to want to put himself in the best possible position going into this race. So it's very tight there. It's also tight as far as the teams are concerned, because as you can see, Mercedes and Aston Martin up at the top. The same is true here. 12 points just between Mercedes and Aston Martin Racing. Great to have so many teams and so many big brands involved in this. And looking forward to see how things unfold in the penultimate race weekend. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. It all comes to crunch time 1 week from now when we wrap this up. The cars are on track, so we're not going to waste any more time. I'll let you three, the trio of you, take over qualifying in the race.
Thank you very much, Matt. Looking forward to seeing what unfolds over the qualifying session, which is 5 minutes long, and then 2 races. Here's Job Van Uytert, who's out there first of all, and there's Esteban Gutierrez, championship leader, Jolien, and he's had a lot of pole positions as well.
He's been really strong in this car, definitely. The Formula Race high-powered single-seater has suited him a lot more. I don't know if we should be surprised by that, given what he's driven in his career, but certainly he is well-suited and he's been quick and the man to beat, really. But the championship's still very open, and as we talked about, consistency's been key to keep the likes of Nicky Team. Agustin Canapino was quick as well the last couple of rounds, so it's still very much all to play for.
And of course, one of the things he's going to face is the fact that there is virtually no elevation. The turn he's just entering now, turn 1, is one of the most difficult in terms of competition. And then he comes on to a turn after a couple's back and forth that is really the key to making all passing. That is where it is now. But of course, also, I'm assuming the car is set up very, very loose, has a lot of understeer so that it can go fast at this point.
Here comes Gutierrez, out onto the back straight, down into this left-hander, and we'll see the times come when he comes across the line, because everybody's in their own private qualifying session at the moment. And he's looping back through the left-hander. There you can see, well, you can almost see Gutierrez. He's a bit backlit for this one. Lovely sunny day wherever he is as he comes out towards the final couple of corners. And there's Agustin Canapino, who relatively latecomer to the event, but he's now turning into something of a front runner. Juan Manuel Correa at the top of the times at the moment on a 1 minute 16.6. Canapino goes to the top on a 15.0. What does Esteban Gutierrez do? Comes across the line, and it's third only for Gutierrez, 3/10 behind Canapino. And Jolien, that's the first time we've seen Charlie Eastwood put in a really good qualifying performance.
Absolutely. Here's Nicky Thiem across the line then. Gutierrez's main rival in the championship. Thiem goes second, 0.008 behind Canapino. Super tight. And you're right about Eastwood. He's in there in the championship. He's in the mix in fourth, purely through consistency. But now he's shown a lap of pace. But still 1 minute 45 left on the clock. There's going to be a second lap to come from these tyres, I think.
Let's see what they do then.
In the area right now as he comes on to toward the front straight. It's the only banking is when he come on to the front straight, and that's because it's turn 1 going the other way, and it has a 9 degree bank on it, and that does help a bit, but not all that much. It's essentially flat.
Here comes Canapino out across the line. 1 minute and 20 seconds left on the clock. Comes across the line now, and Canapino improves then. A 1 minute 14.987, but we'll see whether anyone else improves. Eastwood still there in third place. This is for the professional racing drivers, this competition, before we move on to the Sim Masters for the best sim racers out there, and then the Legends Trophy for, well, the Legends. But team second, Gutierrez third, Eastwood fourth. So it was Eastwood really that didn't improve on that final run, Jolien.
Yeah, Gutierrez did, just to go up to third. Bradley Smith as well, up to fifth, the Hyundai driver. So that's a good effort from him. Aitken sixth, super close the times. 4/10 separating the top 10. Tom Ingram might yet complete this lap. I don't think it's going to do him any good. He was really quick last week, but struggling a bit more right now. But the main championship rivals right up there in the field, to be honest. You've got Thiem, Gutierrez and Eastwood, with Canapino on pole. That's the top 4 in the championship, qualifying in the top 4 places.
Wow, you can't ask for anything more there, can you? As we look at Tom Ingram, the front-running British touring car driver. But yeah, all the championship protagonists at the front of the order, ready for this race. Very exciting stuff. Gutierrez only has 1 win this year, but this sums it up, I think, Jolien. Team Eastwood don't have wins in the championship. They haven't won a race, but they're in the title contention.
And they got a chance of doing that right now, haven't they? But yeah, you're right. That is the Aston Martin racing team. The two of them, they're in the drivers title fight. They're in the teams championship fight, but they've not really been in the mix for a win until now. So I'm looking forward to the reverse grid as well, by the way, later with all these guys coming from the back. But right now, this should be good with them starting in the top 4.
Yeah. So we are in for a very entertaining race, this one around the Indianapolis road course. And we're about to get underway. There's Ye Yafei in 9th place on the grid. And the start here going to be very, very important on the run down towards that first corner. The professional racers about to get underway. And then we've got the Legends coming up a little bit later on, which is going to be really entertaining. And the race is about to start in just a few seconds' time. There you see Gabby Chavez, Kevin Hansen, Tom Ingram and Seb Prio at the back. And then we've got James Collado, who's just come over from the Formula E race where he didn't do that great, and he's in 21st on the grid here. Harry Newey, 22nd, who's been a bit up and down, actually, Newey. I remember he was very good at one of the races earlier on this season. But here come the lights, and the race is underway. Agustin Canapino gets away well from pole position. Nicky Thiem behind him in 2nd place, tucking into the slipstream as they come down in towards turn 1. Thiem goes to the outside. We're on board with Tristan Vautier in the top right. Whoa, big twitch for Canapino into turn 1. Gutierrez trying to get past Thiem. There's a bit of contact. Gutierrez is pushed onto the grass and he drops down the order. He might be out of this one, Gutierrez. He might have been pushed too far on the grass and he's out of the top 10.
too robust, I think, from Team. He opened the door for
Normally that
Gutierrez
first
into
turn
turn
is very
one.
challenging
But,
to the entire field, and more often than not, we see 3 or 4, maybe even as many 7 cars off in that corner. Now, here is the approach to the turn that really means ability to pass. It's a left-hander, and there it is.
Lap 1 of 7. Gutierrez, well, he dropped down to 7th then. I thought he was out of the top 10, Jolien, but he's now dropped down to 8th and 9th, but he didn't drop as far down the order as I thought he was going to.
No, as I was saying, Team basically shoved him off at turn 2, so they were side by side. Team opened up the inside of turn 1. He looked like he was trying to pass Canapino, but that gave Gutierrez a sniff, and then he basically forced him off at exit of turn 2. So that's the championship leader tumbling now out of the top 10.
Here's Charlie Eastwood in 4th place, just in front of Jack Aitken. And then in behind, there comes the attack from Tom Dillman, but Dillman not able to get past Aitken. Johnny Adam in 7th, Vautier 8th. 9th is Yaya Fay, and Gabby Chavez completed the top 10. We're seeing Johnny Adam down in the bottom left. Oh, sorry, it's Charlie Eastwood, my apologies, in the bottom left, not Johnny Adam. But he's wearing the kind of shirt that Johnny Adam would wear.
They've got similar liveries as well, but Eastwood then has lost out to Bradley Smith. Bradley Smith's had a good start up into 3rd place. He's taken advantage of Gutierrez going. Gutierrez is now back into 9th, but even so, from a move trying to get 2nd place, he's got plenty of work to do to try and salvage the points, because still you've got Canapino, Team and Eastwood all up in the top 4, and they're all looking pretty racy here.
What you do see, though, is, your leader is out in front by a good number, but then that's a very close battle for 2nd place.
Here comes Gutierrez on the back of Yaya Fay. And wow, he's cruised past there, hasn't he?
Well, that's a nice pass. That's really well done.
So Gutierrez up into 8th position. Trying to climb further up. Canapino 1.4 seconds ahead of Nicky Thiem, as Paul pointed out. Charlie Eastwood there still in 3rd place. Smith, Dillman, the rest of the top 5. And this is looking good for Agustin Canapino in his championship challenge. So we stay on board with Yaya Fay in 9th place. Bruno Spengler, the BMW driver, is behind him in 10th position. And there's the other Mercedes driver in the top right, because that's obviously important for the team's championship. And Davidson trying to get past the car in front of him as he comes out down towards the left-hand hairpin. Is he going to be close enough to make a move this time around? Doesn't fancy a lunge.
It's going to be important, though, because the 2 Aston Martins are now 2nd and 3rd. Eastwood's ahead of Smith, and this is going to be big points lost for Mercedes in the teams, and for Gutierrez particularly in the drivers. He's now got to try and pass Adam and Aitken pretty quickly. Might have a chance here on the back of Johnny Adam. Looking back from Adam now, looking at Gutierrez, and he's going to get a huge draft. This is a sign of things to come today, I think.
If he's going to do it, this will be one place, and over on the backside, turn 5 will be the other.
There is Johnny Adam, this time in the bottom left. Nice pictures of his racing cars on Paul behind him, running in 8th spot, 0.4 of a second behind Esteban Gutierrez. 7th for Gutierrez, 8th for Adam, 9th, Spengler 10th. And how far is Gutierrez then away from Jack Aitken? About 1.5 seconds still, so he's not going to close that one down in a hurry. Bruno Spengler here is right up behind Yaya Fay as they come down towards the left-hander, and Spengler's going to have a go here, surely. Oh, no, wasn't. I thought he was going to be close enough, but didn't fancy it this time around. Tom Dillman were on board within the top right. He's in 5th place behind Bradley Smith.
Dillman's having a strong drive. Won in Estoril a couple of weeks ago, but since then has just been missing a little bit to get amongst the top guys. But this is much better for Tom Dillman in 5th place. He might yet have Gutierrez behind him, though, by the end of the race. Remember, tyre wear with these cars is a factor. Spengler's going to line up that move now, I think, on Yiffy. Here we go. Big slipstream once again. Moves to the outside. Easy peasy. Look at that. So far past Yiffy before the braking zone. I mean, it can almost be a double slipstream back, but he's got no momentum yet. And Bruno Spengler. That's why he didn't do it on the back straight then.
Lap 5
It
of
seems
7.
many have been pretty bright about setting up for that last turn. It gives you your longest straightaway, but they're getting through it so quickly that it's helping them. I mean, they're able to close. Look at this battle right now.
This is Seb Pruitt making a move up into 22nd position. Oh, that's a little bit rude from Seb, but he makes the move stick, and that is the position gain. There he is in the bottom left, son of Andy Pruitt, who we'll see later on in the Legends race, the multiple World Touring Car champion. This is Tristan Vautier now in 11th place, right up behind Yaya Fay for 10th position. Yellow flag out there in sector 2 somewhere. Anthony Davidson is still on a charge, but Vautier trying to get ahead of Yaya and up into 10th place.
Yeah, he's dropping back, isn't he? He was up in 7th, and he's now just tumbling towards the outer reach of the top 10. This is Vautier now. Look at this slipstream he's going to pick up. Through the banking of the final corner, absolutely flat out, and there's just absolutely nothing that Yiffy can do. Once again, he's a sitting duck. It must just feel like he's got zero power, but it's just the draft from Vautier that's carried him through. The same as it did for Bruno Spengler last lap.
Here's James Collado in 12th place, just in front of Anthony Davidson. So Davidson trying to get ahead of Collado. Collado's made good progress, actually, because I think he started in the 20s, didn't he? But he's got up into 13th spot. This is looking back from Gabby Chavez in 14th position. We're already on the penultimate lap of the race. And there we see Gabby Chavez, the Indy Lights champion, down in the bottom left, running a little deep into that corner, but managing to keep the driver behind him at the moment.
Gabby Chavez, of course, in the Indy cars as well as the Lights. One of the nicest men I think I've ever met. He just enjoys life, has a good time, has a lot of nice little toys, just like Juan Montoya.
Yeah, we'll see Juan Montoya out later in the Legends race as well, around the Indianapolis Oval Circuit in modern Indy cars, which you're not going to want to miss. That'll be coming up after the Sim Masters race that we have next. Charlie Eastwood on board within the top right, running in 3rd position. A reminder then that the championship has Esteban Gutierrez up at the top, ahead of Nicky Thiem in 2nd, Canapino in 3rd. So this will do Canapino's championship challenge a lot of good if he's able to take a win. Tom Ingram is making a place. Beitske Visser has just got up into 28th position ahead of James Pull. Ingram having this fight. Oh, goodness me, Anthony Davidson's upside down. All sorts of chaos at turn 1. Davidson has had a big shunt.
Somehow he's got away with it. He's still going. Losing places, which is not good news. He was having a good race, Davidson, actually, but didn't see what happened at the start of it. But big old shunt, and someone probably was out of the race straight on after that. So last lap is all looking nice and easy for Canapino, for Thiem at the front, but it's tightening up just behind. Gutierrez is close to Aitken, might fancy a draft to the line, and Smith is not all that far behind Eastwood as well for the podium.
Final lap of the race. Canapino leading, a second clear of Nicky Thiem, with Charlie Eastwood in 3rd, Smith in 4th, Dillman 5th, Aitken, Gutierrez, Adams, Spengler and Vautier the rest of the top 10. Bradley's dropping down places. De Francesco's there in 23rd position as Anthony Davidson comes out over the start-finish straight again. Here's Bradley Smith on the attack, trying to pass Charlie Eastwood. I think they're... Oh no, the checker flag has fallen. Okay, there we go. Agustin Canapino has won the race. 0.3 of a second ahead of Nicky Thiem. Charlie Eastwood in 3rd position. So that is some good results for, well, to be honest, all of the top 3, with Gutierrez only finishing in 7th position.
Massive results, and they've got to start the next race from the back, but they've just banked a load of points. And from the back next race, Gutierrez will be there as well. So good stuff. I still think Thiem was too aggressive, to be honest, to Esteban Exeter turn 2. I think he just shoved him onto the grass. There may be a steward's inquiry yet of that, but if he passes it, good news for Thiem, Canapino and Eastwood as well. Big points for them.
So that is Agustin Canapino, who takes the win. The Argentinian who used to race in the Super 2000 Touring Car Series in Argentina, has raced a bit of Formula Sim racing back in the day as well, sort of 10 years ago. Good to see him back in the sim racing world. So the first race of the Races All-Star Series, powered by Rocket Phones, over. Thank you very much for joining us. And we will be back with the Sim Masters in a couple of minutes' time. And then we'll be on with the Legends Trophy. Agustin Canapino, the winner. Nicky Thiem in 2nd. Charlie Eastwood 3rd. Bradley Smith 4th. And 5th is Tom Dillman after a very entertaining race. Esteban Gutierrez, though, that's the big one because the reverse grid is done on your qualifying order. So him being further back in the race won't help him when it comes to the reverse grid. He'll still be starting at the back of the pack with all of his title protagonists around him. So you're not going to want to miss that. That'll be the first race after our first Legends race, where we're going to be seeing Alonso, Button, Mario Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, Dario Franchitti, all fighting against each other on the Indy Oval course. And great to have Paul Page along for that. He'll be calling that action in a few minutes' time. But our focus now will turn to the Sim Masters, which are some of the fastest sim racing gamers in the world, going head-to-head on the Indianapolis road course. It's really the top level of sim racing competition. You're not going to want to miss it.
Well, welcome back again. That was a race that certainly has implications on the championship. The two championship leaders, in fact, Nicky Team and Esteban Gutierrez, contact at the start. We know the stewards often review the races post-race in the middle of the week. We'll see if there's a decision made on that, because that certainly made things difficult for Gutierrez. Decent recovery. But I also want to mention Tom Ingram, because the reverse grid could be interesting for him. First and foremost, though, Jack, the race winner, Charlie Eastwood.
Yeah, let's check in with Charlie. Not quite a race winner just yet, but Charlie, without meaning to be too disrespectful, you've always been like the quiet guy, you know? You end up getting some points every week and no wins yet, but you're there in the championship fight.
Yeah, I've been, as you said, just in no man's land quite often, but
I didn't mean
staying out of
quite
trouble in both races at nearly every event. So I think with the point structure, the second race is nearly more important than the first. So it was good to show a bit more pace this weekend. Last weekend, I actually built sims during the week as well, so I'm absolutely flat out with that. So the driving that I do is literally from one Saturday to the next, and that's it. So I thought I'd put in a little bit more effort this week, and it's paid off.
Well, there's a lesson to all kids out there. Look what happens when you put in some effort. What do you think your chances are in the... Do you think this is going to be a better track than the others we've had for starting from the back? Because the slipstream looks pretty strong on the main straight.
Yeah, I think the slipstream is massive. We all had DRS the whole way through that race. So I don't know how that's going to fare out. But if it is cut back to just the DRS within 1 second, hopefully if we stay out of trouble at the start, you'll be able to make your way through. So yeah, it should be a pretty good race, race 2.
Cool. Best of luck. See you then.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my apologies to Canapino. Obviously, he won the race. That's my fault. But Charlie Eastwood, he's absolutely right. Super consistent throughout, and that's going to start scoring some great points for him and the team. And I mentioned the reverse grid. He's right. The point structure consistency is key. And Tom Ingram was a guy who had a phenomenal second race last week. Maybe there's something in it for him, Jillian.
Well, yeah, I think so. I think that's going to be... He roared up the championship last week with good pace, good overtaking. And this is where, I mean, Charlie just touched on it really there. The reverse grid, you can pick up a huge haul of points and save your day, basically, save your week. So I think we're going to see that. I like I said before, I can't wait to see the main championship guys all fighting from the back. That's where I think this week is going to be sort of won and lost in the championship picture.
What did you make of that race, Paul? Obviously, a bit different seeing some of those guys in the virtual world.
Well, I'm really impressed in how fast they've been able to come off of the first turn. That is not usually done that successfully, but they've done it very well, and that means a difference to the race.
Absolutely. And interestingly, they touched on the draft and certainly the use of DRS, Jack. That last corner would be somewhat similar to the new Zandvoort banking. So it is a similar sort of run, but we didn't see as much there. We saw a lot more this week in terms of passing opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because of the complex of corners that you've got leading up to the back straight here, it's sort of the slow, tricky sequence. So that means you can get a little bit closer. And we've seen some good racing. So like Jolien says, the reverse grid race, and like Charlie Eastwood just said, that's where the big points or the the bigger points variations are to be won. So I think that's going to be interesting, and it'll be fascinating to see what the Sim Masters do, because sometimes in qualifying, some of them slow down to be at the front for the second race. We'll find out in a couple of moments whether that's going to be the case again here, because they're next up on track.
And the Race All-Star Series powered by Rocket Phones continues forward. It's the Sim Masters coming up on track. This is the fastest sim drivers in the world. We saw some improvements last week. Rudy Van Buren mentioned that he finally got some technical issues sorted out, but the standings are this. 3 points separate Bono Huis from Kevin Siggy, and from there, Jack, it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's really tight all the way throughout the order. Just 10 points separating the top four. And you have to say that... it's difficult to call a favorite going into these final four races, because of course you've got Huis at the top of the championship, but he's yet to win a race. He had a second place in race one, but a couple of fifths is all he's got after that. Kevin Siggy won the last race on reverse grid. That's going to be the other interesting thing, because both Siggy and Brzezinski in first and second, they played the reverse grid game and started at the back in the last race. So are they going to keep doing the same thing? Also, very close in the team's championship as well. We saw there with Burst Esports fighting it out with Team Redline.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to note as well, Bono Huis with Mercedes now left Team Redline. So although he has a chance to win the drivers, I'm sure he'd love to beat them in the constructors as well. They're on track and we're ready to go.
So Jene Simoncic there is one of the first drivers we're going to see. Set a lap time, done a good first sector. The man who won the Formula Sim racing event at Monaco last Sunday night, after competing in this on the Saturday. And Simoncic, the winner of the Race All-Star event all the way back in March. But he is now lying fourth in the championship, 10 points off championship leader Bono Huis. And these are going to be the fastest lap times that we will see all weekend. Obviously, apart from the oval lap times, they'll be a little bit quicker. Less corners, more speed, but still, we'll see what Simoncic can do. And again, it'll be interesting to see, Jolien, what the drivers decide to do in terms of playing the reverse grid game.
We've seen that the last couple of weeks, haven't we? With a bit of jiggery-pokery from the likes of Kevin Siggy, Hanya Yovsky, and Simoncic keeping very, very tight over the line. He's quicker than Bono Huis, so provisional pole, and now Rudy Van Buren, last week's winner, goes to the top. Simoncic fourth in the championship. This time last week, he was leading it. That's how tight it is, but he's done a good job with that first lap.
2 minutes left on the clock. Here's Vlad Tokarev across the line, and he is in 20th position. Now, here's Kuba Brzezinski. Let's see what he does, because he was one of the drivers that played the game last week. If he does a 1 minute 14.6, he's taking it seriously. If he's in the 19s, then he's trying to get reverse grid pole. And I think it's going to be the latter, isn't it? Here he comes across the line. And like clockwork, a 1 minute 20.0. So Kuba Brzezinski going for the reverse grid pole. The problem you can have, if you, as Pinto hammers on the brakes to do the same thing, the problem you can have is if you get this wrong, you end up at the back for both races. And for me, Jolien, that's just too stressful. That's too much of a risk.
Well, you don't want to be outside of 107%, but you kind of want to be the slowest guy inside 107%. So Pinto, I don't think, got that very right, because he's 18th, which gives him just sort of a middling qualifying for both races. Siggy's yet to do a lap, and Milan there, 6.5 seconds away from Van Buren. My maths won't tell me quickly enough if that's within 107%, but that's got to be pretty tight.
There is Vlad Tokarev in 21st place at the moment on a 16.5. There's Zbigniew Sciarra across the line with a 19.1. So it's Rudy Van Buren who takes pole position. But it's so close between him and Simoncic and Nikodem Wisniewski across the line in behind. But it is Van Buren that will start on pole position. Here's Mike Epps, who did well to get a podium last time out in a class of the sim racers, despite him being a pro racer. Here comes Epps, cuts the timing beam, 32nd at the moment, but again, he's going for a slower lap, and it's 24th place. Kuba Brzezinski goes 31st. Michael Romanidis comes across the line, hammers on the brakes, and doesn't actually set a lap time. So Huis starts third on the grid, the championship leader. Simoncic in second. Those are going to be the two to focus on, I suppose, Jolien, going into this race.
Definitely championship rivals. Rudy Van Buren won last week. He's on pole again. He was really dominant last week and is keeping up that momentum. I just think the guys that qualify basically last, I don't think they obviously believe they can win in a fair fight. So they try and basically have a nice, easy second race and avoid the likes of Van Buren, Huis, Simoncic. Basically, they won't see them today. They'll start from the back now and the front later in exact reverse order.
Here's a look at the grid then. Rudy Van Buren starts on pole position. Jurnej Simoncic in second place on the grid. Bono Huis, his title rival, is in third spot and the championship leader. Lucas Blakely, really good qualifying from the Scot to slot into fourth position. And then we've got fifth place on the grid, right behind Lucas Blakely on the charge down towards turn one. And will be, drum roll please. Can you remember, Jolien? Here's a quiz quest.
No.
Off the top of your head?
Oh,
No,
Wisniewski.
it is.
Wisniewski.
Oh, I think it was Wisniewski. I think you might be right there. Have you known that off the top of your head? Is that genuine?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I think it was Wisniewski.
Okay, we'll see.
I'm
what
still
happens
waiting
when
for
the cars line
confirmation.
up
We
on the
might not
grid
get it, will
in a
we?
couple of
But,
moments' time. But it will be Rudy Van Buren on pole position, Simoncic alongside him on the front row. And really, Simoncic and Huis is going to be the fight. The cars lining up on the grid now, ready for the charge down towards the first corner. Pole position is Rudy Van Buren as the race gets underway in the Sim Masters. Looked as though Huis got a reasonable getting away to the right-hand side as we look at it. It was Wisniewski, fifth on the grid. Incredible stuff. Alex Siebel's in sixth, Pavlovsky seventh. They chuck it into turn one. Van Buren's in front, Simoncic in second, Huis in third then, and it's still fourth now for Wisniewski. So he's got ahead of Lucas Blakely.
Clean start though, much cleaner than the pro drivers, and perfect for Rudy Van Buren. Still with Simoncic behind, that's going to be really, really tight. Huis looking for the inside, and there's no contact. Surprisingly, I think Huis must have backed out of that one and thought he'll save it for another time. But really, that's allowed Van Buren to just open up a bit of a gap out front.
Of course, the trick here will once again be, how do you get onto that long back straight? How do you get into the first turn? And most importantly, how do you come off of the final turn and take advantage of that extremely long straightaway? The good news about that straightaway is the prevailing winds here come from the west, and so the grandstands to the driver's left protect them to a large degree.
On board with Bono Huis. Right on the back of Jurnej Simoncic. Pulls to the inside. Pavlovsky's passing Blakely. Simoncic and Huis right together into turn one. And Huis makes the move stick. Nice clean pass. And he now is going to try and chase down Rudy Van Buren through the right-hander. Good move that from Huis. Nice and clean.
Really. Yeah, it was a nice move that from Bono, just nice and clean. Simoncic didn't feel the need to defend it because he tried to stick in the slipstream of Van Buren, but didn't have quite enough to out-drag Huis to the corner. But they can help each other, much like I'm sure we'll see in the ovals. The slipstream's so powerful, and these guys are so closely competitive that Huis and Simoncic fighting each other would only allow Van Buren to race away out front. Doing the right thing, I think, Simoncic, by letting Bono Huis through.
There go Boldy there in 8th place, just in front of Michi Hoyer, and Yuri Toman completing the top 10. Huis is 0.8 of a second behind Rudy Van Buren as they come out onto the main straight once more. Lap 2 of 7 in this Sim Masters category. The top sim races in the world fighting it out against each other before the next race will be the Legends race, where we'll have Mario Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi, Jenson Button, Fernando Alonso, Dario Franchitti all fighting it out on the Indy Oval circuit. And every time I kind of read that list out, I can't really believe that all the names I'm saying are real, but they are. They're all getting ready to go. Rudy Van Buren leading the way here, though, the young Dutchman leading another Dutchman, Bono Huis, and it's leading a Macedonian, Jurnej Simoncic.
We're going to stumble on that one. Simoncic, though, he's been good on his tyres for the last few races. He's been good in this car, so I'd be amazed if he just wilts away in third place. But right now, they're fairly equidistant, Van Buren, Huis and Simoncic. Wisniewski, again, another 7-8 tenths further back. The big loser really is Lucas Blakely, qualified 4th and got passed by Wisniewski at the start, and now he's down to 7th, so he's the one that's tumbling.
Yeah, lap 3 of 7. We'll keep an eye on Blakely. Hoyer, Baldi and Toman, the rest of the top 10. Peter Berliak in 11th place. Here is Baldi right up behind Michi Hoyer. We're seeing Michi Hoyer in the bottom left, under pressure. Baldi pulls to the inside, and that, well, just isn't quite the move on the run down into the first corner. Thought it would be, but not quite able to make it stick there for Gergo Baldi. Hoyer nice and late on the brakes. Still 9 tenths of a second between Van Buren and Huis, and then it's 6 tenths back to Simoncic and 6 tenths back to Wisniewski.
So Hoyer had the slipstream from Blakely. We were about to see a move there. Ciara not passing Greco, so we're not going to see a move. But yeah, Hoyer there had the slipstream from Blakely, and that's what seemed to stop Baldi coming through. But the rate, he looked like he decelerated as he pulled out of the slipstream there, was just huge. It was like he actually forgot to shift up or something else, because he just suddenly lost all momentum there, Baldi.
Lap 4 of 7. Van Buren leading. 9 tenths ahead of Bono Huis. Jane Simoncic in 3rd still. And we will have the reverse grid race for the Sim Masters coming up a little bit later on. We're on the Indianapolis road course for these drivers and the Pro Drivers race, but with the Legends Trophy coming up next, that'll be on the full Indianapolis Oval. So excited to see that. Not that I don't want to watch this race and call this race. It's very entertaining, but just can't help thinking about the Legends race that we've got coming up in about 5 minutes time, I would suggest. As we get on the brakes now into the right-hander of turn 1 again, Michi Hoyer still in front of Gergo Baldi, and this is Jiri Toman in 10th position, keeping an eye on both of them in front.
The gap at the front, just less than a second still for Bono Huis, and he was slightly quicker on the last lap. If he's saved anything in the tyres, he's got to be just deploying it all now and try and charge the back of Van Buren. The slipstream is huge, but from a second back, he's not getting enough of it. So he needs to find about another 3-4 tenths, and then we've got a race on our hands. If he doesn't do that, then Simoncic is also now closing into the back of Bono Huis. So the top 3, I think, could all bunch up a little bit.
Apologies if you said this already, Jolien, but you know I don't listen to you half the time. But with this being a shorter race, it is going to be less crucial on the tyres. So what we've seen be quite important over the last few races might not be quite as crucial today.
Yeah, I've not said it actually, and that's a good. Well done, Jack. That's a good point there.
Thank you.
And actually, that doesn't play well to Simoncic's strength, which has been the tyre saving. So he's going to have to just get on with it. There's less time to cruise at the start, which we've in the last couple of races.
Nikodem Wisniewski in the top right, running in 3rd place, and he's got ahead of Simoncic, in fact. So Wisniewski is up into 3rd. Simoncic drops down to 4th position. So that's not good news for his championship hopes. Alan Terzic has made his way past Kirill Birkov for 13th position, but Wisniewski up into 3rd. Just as you were saying, it might not play into the hands of Simoncic. That appears to be the case as we're on the penultimate lap of the race now.
Dropping away further, Simoncic as well, so maybe he just doesn't actually quite have the pace right now. We get a replay. Is this off the move then down into turn 1? This time Simoncic did defend it, but again, this is going to be a nice move on the brakes, around the outside. Just good commitment on the brakes. Lovely stuff from Wisniewski, and Simoncic there had the inside line, the better line to defend, but just got simply done on the brake.
That was a beautiful move down into turn 1. That was truly an excellent pass.
Certainly was, Paul. We're on board now with Jiri Toman trying to chase down Gergo Baldi. They're about to start the final lap of the race now, with Rudy von Buren leading the way, Bono Huis in 2nd, Wisniewski 3rd, Simoncic, Pavlovsky, Siebel, Blakely, Hoyer, Baldi, Toman, the rest of the top 10. There was a change there, and Simoncic is back in front of Wisniewski in 3rd place. That fight is continuing, and championship protagonist Simoncic has got back past ahead of Wisniewski, I think, down at the same place into turn 1. Alex Siebel is up into 5th place ahead of Pavlovsky, with Blakely, Hoyer, Baldi and Toman the rest of the top 10. But championship-wise, this is going to extend Bono Huis's championship lead. Well, not going to win the race by the looks of things, but he's going to take a huge haul of points for his championship fight. Lucas Blakely up in the top right in 7th place, trying to pass Kamil Pavlovsky. coming down into the hairpin. Blakely goes to the outside, remains on the outside. Thought he might try and sell a little dummy there. Wasn't quite able to do so. Lock up from Pavlovsky. Can't quite get it done. But here's Rudy van Buren, Jolien, coming out through the final corner to take the win. What a drive from Van Buren.
Another perfect drive, 2 in 2 weeks, and I think he's coming right into the championship picture after a steady opening few rounds.
Rudy van Buren across the line, wins the Sim Masters race, 0.7 of a second ahead of Bono Huis, who extends his championship lead. Jerne Simoncic across the line in third, and Blakely got Pavlovsky in a drag race across the line. Blakely got Pavlovsky by about 1/10 of a second. Brendan Lee finishes in 12th position. Pavlovsky, Hoyer, Baldi and Thoman, the rest of the top 10. Dennis Lind across the line in 19th place. Very exciting stuff. But it's Rudy van Buren who takes the win ahead of Bono Huis in second, who extends his championship lead. Join us in a few minutes' time, though, because it'll be time for the legends on the Indianapolis Oval.
Well, Rudy's romp resumes as he gets his second win in as many weekends. Great race from him. A bit of strategy going in. I do want to point out Siggy. Apparently, I've been told by Team Redline that his best bet, because of the Formula E commitments prior, is to go for the reverse grid on purpose. So some racers, just based on preparation, are actually using that strategically, Jack, which is kind of interesting.
No, that's wise, actually. And it's worked out for him so far because he won the Formula E event from pole position. And if he's starting at the front in the second race, that could be very interesting. Let's catch up with Rudy van Buren, shall we? The race winner, 6th in the championship at the moment, but another strong win there, Rudy. When you win, it feels like you do everything right and win from the front from pole.
Yeah, but from the outside, it always looks easy. Actually, I had a very hairy moment there in the last lap, going into the hairpins, 2 major screen freezes, and for a second I thought it was gonna go with 3 corners to go, but could hold on to it. The gap was big enough, but yeah, like you said, when you start up front, it's half the work, but it doesn't make it less sweet to take the win again.
How often do you get screen freezes?
Well, I had him in the beginning of the series, and that's partly the reason why I struggled so badly in the first races. But it seems sorted. It's the first time it happened today, so maybe it's something on my end that's running in the back of the PC somewhere. So let's fingers crossed for the second race.
Okay, well, congratulations and stop torrenting.
Thank you.
Oh, I love it. Love it to see it. The big talking point, obviously, is championship, as this is week 4 or 5. We wrap up next week, and we're going to determine who's going to be at the top. It could be any of 4 drivers, as you say. 10 points for separating the top 4. But Huis and Simoncic, again, 2 and 3 on the track. The reverse grid separated the points gap last week. Huis had a better run, but this is going to be so tight all the way through, Jolien.
Well, to be honest, it's a bit like the pro drivers. You've got some of the main championship guys all starting at the front, finishing at the front. We've still not seen Siggy. Brzezinski had actually quite a good drive there, came through to be sort of midfield from the back. But again, I'm really looking forward to seeing Huis, Van Buren, Simoncic go from the back. Yeah. And that's where not making overtakes, not cutting through quickly will pay bigger points penalties.
Well, we'll see if that's the case again or Simoncic has a better run. But Adam Christodoulou actually took the time to show us around his rig. We're going to take a look at that now.
Hey guys, I'm Adam Christodoulou and I'm one of AMG's official GT3 drivers. Just recently I've been putting all of my attention into sim driving. Pro racing simulators recommended that I went for the proper stiff rigid P1X chassis, and with that I've ended up getting a Corbeau Revenge seat, which I was able to acquire off one of the race teams. I've got the Fanatec DD2 direct drive motor. This thing's that powerful, it actually comes with a emergency button just in case. I've got the Fanatec Formula V2 rim. I've ended up customizing it, so I've got my DRS radio button, I've got my flash, the clutch up there, pit limiter and a few other buttons, which I tried to get it as close as I can to the Mercedes AMG that I'm usually running. The PC that's powering this is pretty impressive. So it's running 3 graphics cards, which is exactly what it needs to run all 3 monitors. And then as we go down to the pedals, I've got the Huizenfeld sprint pedals. These things are a real work of art. You can adjust all of these bump rubbers just to get different feels off the pedals. So I hope that gives you a bit of an insight of how we're keeping ourselves occupied at the moment. It's getting pretty serious. I'm running a data logger system on this as well, and yeah, make sure to join us for the race this afternoon and wish us luck.
And welcome back again to the Race All-Star Series powered by Rocket Phones. This is what we've been waiting for, the best grid of drivers ever assembled, and we are going around Indy as fast as possible, Paul.
Absolutely. There's this grid, when I look at it, it's like spectacular. I mean, those are some excellent guys. I just spoke yesterday with Brian Herta, for example, and he was very excited about this as well. And I can't wait. Let's get them going.
Absolutely. Well, there's the championship. Jack, Julian, you guys have been through most of this in the older cars. We still have the older cars shown. Again, they're in the modern Dallara DW12 currently. But this is still tight at the top, and points are going to matter around an oval. And a guy like Jenson Button, Jack, he's never been on one.
Yeah, and I think that there's so many variables in this oval race. When we have a nice long race on a proper track, not that ovals aren't proper tracks, but don't at me, you know what I mean? Like on a road course that these guys are used to. They've got the time to carve through the field. They know how they're going to carve through the field. But I think there's so many unknowns in these next two races we're going to see that the Legends standings and the title situation is going to be very different, I think, in 2 hours' time.
Well, this is going to be everything that everyone wants to see during this break, and we're on track. Fernando Alonso, him and Button, there's an interesting rivalry, but obviously he's still chasing the Triple Crown. Paul, maybe this is a step toward it. I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it. And, of course, now we're talking guy who has some experience on this track, albeit didn't get him into the race, but, again, albeit not his problem. And, of course, now you're going to notice that the track itself, you'll be going the other direction. The Indianapolis 500 is 800 left-hand turns, and that's exactly what you're going to see today. Nothing but left turns.
Expect these times to be super, super close as well. Alonso onto a first fly. There's 5 minutes qualifying as per usual. And they've all been getting a reasonable amount of practice in this week as the field gets more and more competitive. But look how close these times are all going to be. Let's see what Alonso can do then through the final corners up to the line.
Mario Andretti had told me a number of times that when you get out toward the wall, that you actually feel a cushion against the wall that generally will keep you off of it. But especially right here as we come on to the main straightaway. And see how tiny turn one is down there ahead because of the grandstands towering over it. That causes problems occasionally with them finding exact apex on the track.
Look how close the times are as well. Petter Solberg goes to the top of the times. Button's fifth, our championship leader. The times are going to keep tumbling because we're going to get more and more laps and they're going to build up more and more momentum, which is critical. It does look pretty scary. I have to say, driving one of these in the real thing would be terrifying. And I imagine the sim is giving them a good taster of it. Let's see what Mario Andretti can do over the line then. First lap for him. And the time's tumbling all the way. What's Andretti going to do? Not a bad opening lap.
Actually, very good. He's gotten through that area well as he comes off of 2 and onto the back stretch. And, of course, the turn 2, turn 4, that's the key. So you get on those long 5/8 of a mile back stretch. Again, the track is flat, 9 degrees, 12 minutes of banking is all, 50 feet wide in the straightaways, 60 feet wide in the turns. And the car, the DW12, is named after, of course, Dan Weldon, who won the Indianapolis 500. And they're very strong cars. They've lasted a number of years and expected to go quite a few more.
Minute and a half left on the clock. The time's still coming down. Oriol Servia now on provisional pole. Petter Solberg jumps back to the top, though. Paul, how critical is this qualifying going to be? Because obviously drafting, slipstreaming around this track is very different compared to what we've seen in previous weeks.
Well, it's going to be interesting to me because I have to compare this to what reality may be, and in reality you may actually see the draft beginning to feel it as far as 15 car lengths back. I'm not sure what the Masters have put into this today, but we'll certainly see what's going to happen there. Also, you got to remember that the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, unlike everywhere else in the world, and certainly all the Formula One circuits, they don't look at speed or at time. They look at speed, and right now we're seeing laps turned above 224 miles an hour. Last one there was 224.305.
25 seconds to go. Petter Solberg. Button's gone up to second, which is crucial. Servier has matched his lap time. Of course, we are used to doing speed in the real world, and you can compare that. But this is basically going to be ordered on lap time. And at the moment, Petter Solberg by 9 thousandths is on pole as the time ticks down. I think he's going to get it. Alonso's gone fourth, but Solberg, the rallycross driver around Indy, looks like he's got pole position.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive stuff, seeing the guys that have basically never done it. Of course, maybe they've done it on their sims alone, but to see this on the track and in this beautiful format, that's very impressive for those top guys.
Well, guys, I am so looking forward to this race. Petter Solberg on pole position, Button alongside him, and they're the two that we almost spoke about as how are they going to compete? How are they going to be towards the front of the order? Franchitti fifth, looking to add to his Indianapolis wins, and I feel a bit for Mario Andretti because he qualified something like 18th or 19th on the grid, but I think he was within a tenth of a second of the front runners. So here they go. They're lining up behind the pace car now. Jolyon Palmer, Paul Page. Here comes the race All-Star Series race, the Legends Trophy at Indianapolis.
And of course, there we'll see the rolling start that is so familiar to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Lines of three for the Indianapolis 500, of course. And, well, there's like Mario Dominguez, David Brabham, his grandfather brought the whole rear engine car concept to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and changed everything. As you go back through the field and start to look for some of the men who have done very, very well in terms of championships here, it's kind of impressive the way the front of the field is essentially a bunch of rookies. So here we are as they begin to line up. They go into their rows of two in this particular case. Solberg on the pole, Button next to him. And there it is. Green flag out. They accelerate to the start.
Green flag, go, go, go.
You hear the spotters yelling, go, go, go. That's what they're doing. Clean through turn one, which is, of course, very important because they are so crowded up together.
Great start from Solberg. I wondered if he'd ever done a rolling start in his life, and he just led it straight away.
To come up.
So, end of lap one, Button is in the lead, Alonso pulling it out alongside him. Those two go side by side into turn number one, and here comes Franchitti, three-time Indy 500 winner, looking for the virtual milk this afternoon. We're riding with Solberg.
You look at the three in front of them as they maneuver back and forth, try to find where they're going to get into the turn, but sooner or later they got to get pretty far out. That's a pretty low entry into that turn.
Franchitti out in front now. 2/10 of a second ahead of Button. Then it's Alonso in the blue machine. Those two going side by side now, although Button stays down in front. Adrian Fernandez going to the outside. Whoa, there's Franchitti off. And Fernandez is in the sky. And immediately out of the race. So Button's still in front. Alonso made it through, but it looked as though Dario Franchitti has had another big accident on an oval.
More chaos in the background as well. There's a number of cars heading heavily into the wall. So we've got our first big incidents. The first few laps were very incident-free, very pro. But we've now had huge accident for Franchitti and Fernandez, and loads more out in the background. I couldn't see who it was, but now we're getting the chaos. Out front, Button takes the lead back from Alonso. The two old McLaren Formula One teammates duking it out, and they've made a bit of a gap back to Magnussen, Plato and Servia.
Battle for first out in front. Magnussen running in third. Turn one again. We're seeing some great racing here, Paul, and it really feels fast, even in the game.
Can't hold that pass. So it remains Alonso out in front at the Indianapolis 500, which we all expect to see someday. Wide to the main straightaway. Alonso, Button, one Magnussen, and now another change in the top of the order. Back to the long front stretch. Wow, there's some good passing. You're actually doing on the front stretch about 250 miles an hour. It's very pressing, very impressive. As we go on board with Dominguez.
Drivers all getting so close to each other. Look at this fight here. Battle for third. Magnussen, Servia, Plato, Jourdain and Canaan. And the group at the front as well. Button and Alonso still going hammer and tongs at it as well. Alonso looking like he's going to get a nice run. And these two fighting very cleanly and trying to pull away from that big battle for third, which would be very, very important.
Jack, it's kind of interesting that we see Castroneves back there and Tony Kanaan. Of course, Turner just got around Tony Kanaan in that battle. It's really a three-way battle for ninth, and here comes Tony Kanaan back. That's the driver who actually wanted to race so badly that he came from Brazil to Italy and lived in the upstairs of a garage, and they had to lock him in at night. So you talk about a spirit and a drive, that's Tony Kanaan. Jack?
Absolutely. Great to see Mario Andretti here. We're on board with him in the top right. He's in 25th. Hasn't had a great start, but he's running with Alonso and Button, the race leaders. 80-year-old Mario Andretti, if he had been in this fight and hadn't had whatever troubles he's had, he would be able to keep with them. And he's almost got to think whether or not to pass Jenson, Button and Alonso. And he's going to do it here, Mario.
Oh, this
Good
could
move,
get
coming
very,
to the inside,
very
but can he hold
here.
it? Can he hold it? That's always the key. And yep, he holds it very well. Oh, nice piece of driving there. You're on board looking at Mario Andretti as he comes onto the front stretch. Look at how tight they are. This will be a pass in turn one if they take advantage of the draft.
Paul, when do you want to be in the lead of the race? Because we've got 14 minutes left. Does it matter who's in first or second now? Do you want to be leading or do you want to be following?
Well, as it's being played out here, I would much prefer to be in second place on the backstretch coming on the last lap. So that's where I would play it. And of course, if we're talking the true Indianapolis 500, we'd be counting fuel, we'd be counting tire wear. So many things come into play, but this is just pure racing, and it's so good as Alonso chases Button, Jack.
14 minutes left on the clock. Still Mario Andretti keeping up with those two. Then it's the Magnussen and Servia Plato. And apart from that one big one involving Franchitti and then a little bit more chaos, it's been pretty clean so far, Jolyon. I mean, I usually say that and then chaos unfolds, but it's been good racing so far.
we've had that effect in the Legends races generally. Alonso and Button are driving really cleverly here. I bet Alonso's actually frustrated to have Andretti a lap down just behind him, because otherwise they'd have a nice clear track back. But he's going to have to try and pass Jensen, because at the moment, Magnussen, Servia and Plato, there's two bunches basically. The lead bunch, Button and Alonso, former F1 drivers, former teammates at McLaren. And then there's Magnussen, Servia and Plato. And the second group is catching Button and Alonso. And a little bump draft there from Alonso, just tap the back of Button. And that's clearly what they're trying to do, to both pick up speed and keep ahead of that chasing pack of Servia, now ahead of Magnussen and Plato. In all the top five, though, you've only got one former IndyCar driver, plus Fernando Alonso as well, who's, of course, done this race. But, there's Jan Magnussen and Jason Plato doing great jobs as well in their first go at this.
Also looking at quite a mix back there, 6th down through 10th, where Castroneves, Michel Jourdain Jr., and especially Tony Kanaan, because he is right there. That's Tony Kanaan, and he'll stay in that position. He'll try to get further forward, but once he has an eye on the lead, he's not going to let go. Look how close that battle for the front is, Jack.
So close. Alonso and Button nose to tail. 12 minutes to go. Still Plato, Magnussen, Servia right together in that second bunch, as Jolyon pointed out. But this is where it kind of becomes a bit of a chess game, doesn't it, rather than a motor race, when you can see the focus on Button's eyes is unbelievable. Right behind Alonso, and still Mario Andretti is there right behind them. He's a lap down on the leaders, but he's still enjoying chasing them and running with them.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with the job Mario's doing. 80-year-old man who has the heart of like a 17-year-old, and he still is flat out on it. Alonso out in front there. One would think that if Button wants to try it, into the first turn would be certainly in the draft where he is right there. But perhaps also part of the play is, I'm going to stay here. I like this second place, and maybe this will serve me on the final lap.
Of course, with no damage as well, they can bump draft quite effectively. The front wing's not going to break on these things, so they've been doing that a little bit. We saw Alonso give Jenson Button a little love tap a few laps ago, and now Button taking up that second place is in a really nice position, really. No pressure, 10 minutes still to go. And let's see, closes up to Alonso, but then just eases off, I think, not to go side by side with the Spaniard into turn one. And both of them driving sensibly with their heads. They're just checking out from that group behind now. 5 seconds back is Jan Magnussen. And this has become very quickly purely a two-horse race.
Bump drafting isn't actually allowed, so the stewards are going to be watching out for that. They'll have seen that little nudge. So I wonder if after sort of one go, Button thinks, oh, better not do that anymore, because they are going to be watching out for that, the stewards, as we see this fight now between Servia in 5th, Plato 4th, and Kevin Magnussen in 3rd position. There's Servia. Oh, he's got the heating on, hasn't he? Must be chilly.
Look at this. How's that going to result? Heading into turn one. Stay in the same inning. There's the VIP suites off to the right, and now to that long backstretch. There's that battle in the back I was talking. And look, we see both Turner and Max Pappas come up on the board, as well as Brabham. Max, of course, is one of the stewards of the regular IndyCar series, and he, in his day, was an awesome racer in the IndyCars.
Servia 3 wide into turn one. Oh, that was close.
Oh, that's high. I can't believe he pulled that off. That very wide line is not what I would want to do in the true race car. And of course, one of the things that they don't feel, which the feedback is, every time they go into one of those corners, the lateral G-forces are like 5 Gs, tries to push them out the right side of the car. And that part of the field that they must feel to be able to be successful.
Look at the rest of the field, have all caught up this bunch for 3rd as well. That is your Canaan-Jourdain battle, and they're right with Plato, Servia, and Magnussen.
This is a replay.
View from Button as he pulls out on the main straight, times that one perfectly. Really an excellent pass. Timing is what it's all about.
Magnussen running in third, Servia fourth after that little high moment earlier on. Has dropped Plato back a little bit, so he's a bit adrift of them. Here come Magnussen and Servia, the Dane and the Spaniard, together down towards turn one again with 8 minutes left. But look how quickly Plato caught up with the draft down that main straight.
It just actually pulls you forward. Some drivers are surprised by it, especially on the start of the race, and anytime they're closely running. So there's the dart out. We'll see if it can be held going into the third turn.
Plato
that
ahead
is some
of Servia.
Incredibly tight racing. Oh!
Bit of a bump
Jack,
there.
have you ever seen anything like
Servia
this? That was up high. That was almost the wall. Whoa! And that is the wall.
The wall in the sky, and you see Servia's annoyance as he whacks the escape key. Still, Button and Alonso out front with Mario Andretti in behind them still. But Button and Alonso fighting for the win as they come down the back straight.
Of course, Mario is learning a great deal now. I'm impressed that he's finally found pace with the leaders. And despite being a lack down, this is an education for Mario. And we may see him do very well on another occasion. Pappas and Castroneves still in the back, running at 8th and 9th. Two veterans. There's Max in 8th. Now in 7th, so nice little pass there. While we know that the turns here are all in identical, actually. There's Mario. Look at that, he's chewing. He's got some gum. He's concentrating so hard. We do know that the track here, even though it is really a rectangle, symmetrical, quarter-mile turns, 5/8 of a mile straightaways, quarter-mile up on the short chutes. Every turn is entirely different, even though physically they are the same. It's really something when you hear the drivers, if they permit you to sit and talk about what they've been doing. The other thing, too, is you, with the draft, can control the car in front of you. If you get out on the right rear of that car in front of you, you can lift up the right rear aerodynamically. And, of course, that's going to create a loose position for the guy that you're doing that to. Move to the inside, different. You're going to go into an oversteer.
5 minutes to go. Jourdain and Canaan are right up in that pack now. Jourdain's up to third, so that early breakaway group of Magnussen, Plato and Oriol Servia has come to nothing. We've got a yellow in sector one. We've got a big crash.
I think it was Plato that was in the wall there, falling backwards. But still Button and Alonso out in front. And as you say, and Jourdain, I think, was involved in that too. So Magnussen, Canaan, Monteiro are now this three for third place. Still Button and Alonso right together with less than 5 minutes left on the clock. There you see Jan Magnussen. And are we going to go three wide here? Monteiro to the inside into turn one. This is going to be tight. And that's, whoa.
Oh, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So close, so tight. Button, Alonso, Monteiro, Magnussen, Tony Kanaan. We pointed him out. He's just inching his way forward. TK, as we call him, he really is a competitor beyond belief, and he's been doing it for years, and I don't see him losing anything of his skill. Front stretch once again on board with Alonso. Sure are looking forward to seeing him back at the Indianapolis 500, now scheduled for the 23rd of August this year. The virus does not help us. as around the world, COVID-19 has done a lot of damage, but the good news is that automobile racing, you can figure out a way to do it. NASCAR, for example, has done it without fans in the stands and run several races in a row. The Indianapolis cars will go to their first live on track when they go to the Texas World Speedway, one of the fastest and most challenging tracks on the circuit. Button still in front. Alonso, then Magnussen, Monteiro. Kanaan has dropped back to 5th. Turner, then Brabham. Scott Pruitt is up into the top 10 now, followed by Montoya. And Montoya drops out of it. It's interesting for Montoya, a two-time winner. Let's see if this pass can be made. Looks pretty good. That's awfully low and awfully side by side. Ooh. Nope, it's not going to happen. Montoya is a two-time winner, has his image twice on the world-famous Borg Warner Trophy. I've got the image of that behind me and here in the room, as well as one of Fernandez's helmets. And the Borg Warner Trophy for Juan, in one place they call him Juan, because when he was in Indycars, that's what they wanted him to be called. And then, of course, when he won his second 500, coming off of Formula One and everything, he's full on into being Juan Pablo. So 2 different names, same face on the trophy. Jack?
2 minutes to go, 2 minutes left to run, and Alonso is still happy to just sit behind Jenson Button in the battle for the lead. Magnussen and Monteiro is the fight we've been watching for 3rd place, but now, with less than 2 minutes on the clock, it's all about Alonso versus Button for the win in the Legends Trophy. Alonso goes for it now, down into 3, has the inside line.
Surely neither of them are going to want to be leading onto the final lap. The slipstream's so huge that, another big accident in front. They've done well to get around that. That might have been Castroneves. But here we go then. Barely any time left. And now Alonso in the lead from Button. The slipstream effect is big. Here comes Jenson Button chasing Alonso. And what will they do in terms of tactics now?
Again, we're talking about 2nd place. If you want to win, that's the perfect place to be. The distance between both Alonso and Button is, well, now it's closing in. It was a little further than I wanted to see. Is he going to make this happen? And he does. Button goes to the lead. Alonso 2nd. Magnussen remains in 3rd, but he's well back. Now, looks like Alonso is going to try to come back at him.
2 very thinking drivers.
We'll tell that tale, Jack.
Wise guys. And now they've got to battle it out with just about a lap to go to see who can win this strategic battle. This is fascinating.
Looking on board, that's Button up ahead. Wow, this is so good, so tight. And again, the aerodynamics make all the difference in the world. Interestingly, though, the cars themselves, unlike, for example, Formula One, you can't make that many adjustments to them. They're not to be changed all that much. And here goes Alonso, and he goes into the lead at the line. Wow!
Amazing stuff there. So I think that's the white flag. So I think we're now on the final lap of the race. Button had a big moment coming out of turn 4 that time around. They're on the back straight. 2 corners to go, Paul Page. Alonso v. Button.
Button's trying. He's on the outside. Alonso sitting down quicker. He's in control of the race at this moment. And as we come off of the 4th turn, we have to keep an eye on Button and see what he's going to do. But it looks like it's Alonso all the way here. He can dart out here. And no. A little too late. A little too late. Alonso takes the win here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. His first, and it's a sim, but I'm going to see it in real time, I'm sure.
What a drive. What a race between Alonso and Button. Less than a 1/10 of a second between them across the line. That was absolutely brilliant. Button 2nd. Magnussen finishes in 3rd place ahead of Tiago Monteiro. I loved that. I have to say, that was absolutely brilliant. And hopefully in the reverse grid, we'll see, maybe a few more fights up at the front, a few more cars involved. But Alonso versus Button for the win. I thought Button was going to do it. He was in the right place. So I think we can speak to him now. We're just getting a replay of Alonso versus Button at the line, pulled out right there, and I think it was 7/100ths of a second between them as they came across the line. Fernando Alonso winning the Legends Trophy race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the oval circuit. Thrilling stuff. And Button finishing in second position. I think we can speak to Jensen now. Jensen, that was a great fight. It looked pretty intense, I got to say, between you and Fernando for the whole race.
Yeah, as soon as we got a bit of a gap, I think it was like 3 or 4, a couple of car lengths, cars behind, then you got to work together, which was pretty good, actually. And then we just pulled away. But the problem is when you're behind, you're getting a lot more oversteer through the corners, so it's difficult to fight. And then with 1 lap to go, I don't think Fernando taxed me coming onto the main straight. I think it was just because we were so close. But I got a massive snap of oversteer, and that really cost my position in terms of trying to lead the last lap. Because you got to be leading the last lap to actually win. Because you can't ever take if the guy's blocking. So, but awesome, really good fun, and you always want to win this race. But a great battle. Hopefully, we did it proud, the Indy 500. And it's also good for my championship.
This is Paul Page. We were talking earlier about how, despite them physically the same, the turns are all different at Indianapolis. Did you find that to be true?
Yeah, very different.
There's a different character in every one of them.
Yeah, because obviously they're slightly different steering angles, but it's not just that. It's the roughness of the circuit. You feel the bumps on entry into turn 3. So yeah, they're all a little bit different, and I don't know what it's like in reality. Obviously, Fernando knows most of these guys, but I was a virgin at Indy now, but it was a great fun race. Really, really enjoyed that, and it's so much tougher than you think. And I also I know this sounds weird, but I really struggle with getting dizzy.
Really?
Yeah, and that was 30 laps, so I can't imagine a whole race. It must be insane. Yeah, the concentration needed to be that precise is pretty insane.
Yeah, the focus
well, we
for
really
200
loved
laps,
watching you
800
race.
left turns,
Fernando,
500
great
miles.
battle, and
I don't
look
know
forward
how
to the
they
reverse
do
grid.
it. They're remarkable.
Thanks, guys.
So that was a nice race there. Enjoyed every second of that. And it looked to me like a real Indianapolis 500. I mean, it was, and you see the crowds in the grandstands. Indianapolis 500, we put over 350,000 people into this track. Greatest single day sporting event in the world. And so this is a very, very special racetrack, and I am so glad to see it run that way.
Yeah, that was amazing to watch. Was going to ask if Jensen's now encouraged to do it in real life, but maybe he'll be too dizzy. Jack, that might be a problem for him. Shout out to Mario Andretti. He may have been a lap down, but at points behind that lead battle, he had better pace. I think he was just being polite to not get involved, but he was catching them a number of times on the straights, Jack.
And reverse grid, he's going to be up towards the front for the Legends Trophy reverse grid in about an hour's time or so. So I think that's going to be well worth watching. And we got so many drivers in the reverse grid that are going to be more towards the front of the order. Because don't forget, reverse grid in inverted commas, but the top 20 were like within a tenth. So I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens later on. And Alonso, of course, not in the title fight. So that win for Button, Pirro not featuring in the top 10 is big, big positives for him ahead of, in terms of the title fight, ahead of the title showdown next weekend. But still one more race to run for them and for everybody else.
Well, and imagine if Alonso wins race 1, maybe prelude to his Triple Crown, and Mario Andretti were somehow to win race 2. That would be two of the biggest names in the world winning on the same day. It would be incredible. We'll find out soon, but we've got our pro and sim races coming up first. Wow, super impressive, even just to see some of those names all the way through the field. There was a little bit of chaos, but for the most part, qualifying, Julian, you touched on it, the times were, I don't even think your eye could detect how close those guys were.
With a microscope, and that's basically what it needed. It was so close, but actually, that's how it was won. I mean, Alonso and Button broke away, and then I've seen it for years in Formula One. They're so smart, they're intelligent in the car. And basically, as soon as they had a chance to just think, this is it, this is ours now, they didn't mess around. They were just going with each other tactically away from third place and made it a two-horse race. So, it was smart. And actually, it was so difficult to separate them in qualifying. But in the end, those guys that were at the front end of lap one, they did well. They won.
Yeah, and Jack, I think Tiago Monteiro had a decent battle going on inside of the top 10. A little more than just the two-car race at the front. They had 3 or 4 guys mixing it in. Magnussen was pretty solid throughout. I think he's going to let us know his perspective because I think he had a pretty busy race.
Yeah, it certainly looked like it, didn't it? Let's check in with Tiago Monteiro. Tiago, of course, you've been on the podium at Indianapolis before. How was that race for you? Was that your first oval race?
It's not my first oval race. I did some Champ Car in 2003. So, but it was a long time ago, obviously. But on the simulator, it is the first race. And I must say that I've been enjoying it since we started like a week ago testing on it. It's been really fun. And the group that we have, the grid that we have, we're all talking to each other. It's so funny and actually quite exciting and very, very stressful. I mean, I've been really sweating a lot. So I had a lot of fun. Almost the second podium in Indianapolis. It was really close. I heard my spotter said it was the last lap, and it was not. It was actually the finish.
Okay, well, congratulations. We look forward to seeing you in the reverse grid race.
Thank you, guys.
See you later. I totally forgot that Tiago did Champ Car. My bad. Sorry.
Right? Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah, obviously he's done a number of, you mentioned Formula One, obviously that being the podium. He's done a number of cars around the world, still active. Lovely 2 helmets behind him, taking that from Julian's, inspiration, his interior designing. If you want to look as good on camera as maybe Tiago Monteiro did, maybe you need a new phone to do it. Maybe a Rocket phone? I don't know. Maybe you can get one right now. If you'd like a chance to win a Rocket phone featuring 3D screen technology, just go to rocketphones.com and answer this question. Who are the current Williams Formula One drivers? Not only that, there will be some great offers available exclusively to the race fans on rocketphones.com right now. All you need to do is enter the promo code RACEOFFER and you'll receive a free pair of Rocket earbud headphones worth $44.99 when you buy any phone. You can currently purchase a Rocket IO Pro phone for just £99 or the Rocket IO 3D for just £69, giving race fans a great deal on a new phone. Well, Paul, you said you've been around the Indy 500 since the 1970s, but this, your first virtual experience, what was the biggest differences that you spotted?
Actually, it was so realistic. I was really quite surprised. And the way that all of the drivers were able to take advantage of the draft, position their cars properly, and understood how to make the pass. The only thing that is a problem today is the same problem we see all the time, and that is, when do you actually dart out as you're heading for the finish line? Couple of guys have
nearly got it right.
Mistake.
So close with Alonso. Of course, we will be doing that again in a minute, but first, the pro race. So the championship picture back into the question for the pro drivers. We saw, again, Charlie Eastwood have a great finish in second place. Williams had Agostino Canapino, take an easy, I shouldn't say easy, but a nice clean win in the first race. Didn't have too much trouble doing it. Led from lights to flag. Now we'll see what happens in the reverse grid because there is still a lot to play for, both for pros and manufacturers. Jack, you've seen a lot of it throughout the season. Consistency key, or is there maybe Gutierrez looking to be a standout in the run from the rear?
Well, I'd say I've seen all of it, to be honest with you, Matt. It's been a really great year, really good fun, and I think the overtaking in this race is going to be Larry. If it's anything like what we saw in race one, drivers were getting huge runs on each other out through the banking, and I think it's going to be fascinating to see if the drivers at the back who qualified at the front can make a bit more progress through the order. We can have a look at some of the head-to-head stats of some of the drivers that we've got coming into this race. There is Ant Davidson and Charlie Eastwood. Eastwood, who we spoke to after race 1, a front runner, currently second in the World Endurance Championship GTE AM class, driving for Aston Martin. Anthony Davidson had a big old crash, didn't he, in the Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports team in race 1. So he's going to want to get a few more points in this one and not go upside down.
Yeah, and he's been very consistent until that race, Julian. And obviously, again, he's racing with Mercedes in this championship. So they're going to be looking for points from him. He's been surprising. Maybe this is the chance for him to get back toward the front. Here's a look at your grid. James Pole on the pole.
Certainly is. And then alongside him on the front row was Harry Tinknell, Devlin DeFrancesco there in 5th. Aidan Millwood, who won the reverse grid race last time, is lining up in 6th place. Seb Montoya in 7th. Plowman, Harry Newey, James Collado. And then we've got a long way to go. And before we get to the real front runners. And Tom Ingram there, 14th, 15th, Kevin Hansen, Gabby Chavez in 16th position. And then we've got 17th on the grid for Michael Benya here. Bruno Spengler, 18th. Then we get towards the kind of front runners with Ant Davidson in 19th position. So a reverse grid race in the Pro Cup about to get underway. Buncombe in 21st, Adam 22nd, Job van Uitert in 23rd. Yaya Fay starts 24th on the grid as they get ready to charge down towards turn 1. James Pull on pole position. Tinknell, Juan Manuel Carrera and Seb Morris. The front 2 rows just waiting for the lights, and there we go. And it's not a great start for James Pull. Awful lot of wheel spin. Tinknell moves up into the lead of the race on the run down towards the first corner. How committed is everyone going to be into turn 1? Aidan Millwood goes all the way to the outside to try and make an overtake. Not quite able to do so. Tinknell out in front. Oh, gets hit by Juan Manuel Carrera, and Pull rolls a la Nick Heidfeld down at turn 2. And the pole man is upside down. Meanwhile, Tinknell's in front. DeFrancesco is in 2nd. Seb Morris is in 3rd, Jolien.
Very bad start for the pole man. From the lead, didn't get a good start at all away from with the lights going out. Already was jumped by Harry Tinknell, who rocketed away. But then just that collision at turn 2. And that's him basically done from reverse grid pole then. Tinknell's 2.5 seconds clear in all of that. The two of them got so broadside, they kind of blocked the whole track. And Harry Tinknell now has 3 seconds to the rest of the field.
Ooh.
So it is fairly comfortable stuff here for Harry Tinknell at the moment. DeFrancesco in 2nd, Seb Morris in 3rd, Tom Ingram 4th, Aidan Millwood in 5th. Keep an eye on the tower on the left-hand side, and we'll see when some of the front runners come in towards the order. Here's Aidan Millwood under pressure from Archie Hamilton as they come through the banking and down towards turn 1. Canapino's up to 23rd place, Gutierrez 22nd. Just saw those two flash through. Hamilton to the outside, Millwood on the inside. Oh, someone's had a massive shunt on the main straight coming down into turn 1, and they were broadside across the race circuit. So someone out of the race in big style. We'll see whether anybody else got caught up in all of that. As you see Aidan Millwood in the bottom left. I called him a Fleetwood Town fan last week. He's actually a Walsall fan apparently, so my apologies for that. Lap 2 of 7, Tinknell in the lead.
Huge inaccuracy, but so Nicky Team is out, I think, of this race. The championship 2nd place man, I think he came into the pits end of lap 1. Gutierrez still going in 20th. I don't know who it was that got involved in that massive accident on the straight. Presumably some big slipstreaming, big closing speeds, and some movement in the defense caused it. But yeah, huge accident. I'm surprised more cars didn't then fly into the back of it. But Nicky Team, I think, said there he's 25th, so maybe he is still going. But initially it said he came in the pits.
Keep an eye out on that one. Here's Tom Ingram, who charged up the order in the reverse grid race last time out and is up into 2nd position now ahead of Devlin DeFrancesco, 4.5 seconds back from Harry Tinknell. 4th is still Seb Morris. DeFrancesco back to the inside, and he gets it done just about. That was a bit of a rude one. Forced Ingram onto the grass. Seb Morris tries to take advantage of that. Job van Uitert is in 7th, up in the top right. Ingram holds on to 3rd place for the moment, just ahead of Seb Morris.
Tom Ingram then, and Seb Morris having a bit of a scrap behind Devlin Di Francesco. And I think they, if not Ingram used to driver coach Seb Morris, they certainly were in the same team at the same time in Ginetta Juniors back in the day. But now they're duking it out for a podium here. And I think without Harry Tincknell making a big error, that's as good as it's going to get, because he's now got 6 seconds out front.
Oh, bumping wheel to wheel through there, the left-hander. Devlin Di Francesco still in second place, Seb Morris in third, Ingram fourth, and fifth behind them is Aidan Millward. This is a great little fight for the podium places. Seb Montoya running in 31st at the moment. Guerrieri Canapino is out of the race then. So that is not good news for his championship charge. And Ingram and Morris are absolutely wheel to wheel coming down the start-finish straight. Morris is moving over. Ingram is desperate to find that inside line, and Millward almost goes into the back of the two of them into turn one, and now Morris tries to go around Di Francesco. That doesn't work out, and that allows Ingram back through. Such a busy race. Ingram's on the grass. Somehow
Di
doesn't spin.
Francesco has basically decided that no one will go around the outside. The spinners, it's all kicking off further back behind them. I think that was Ben Yahir. Bunker maybe slipping back, but yeah, Di Francesco's just going to the inside. Morris tried to go around the outside of turn one, biffed off on the outside. Then Ingram tries to go around on the outside of turn two, biffed off to the outside. Rude from Di Francesco, to say the least.
Very, very true indeed. Still, Harry Tincknell's lead is 9.5 seconds out at the front with all of this. He must be looking at his splits on his steering wheel thinking, where is everybody going? What are they doing? And he's now got a 9.5 second lead over Di Francesco, although he's only a 10th ahead of Seb Morris as they come out onto the start-finish straight once more. Already to start lap 5 of 7, Ingram ahead of Di Francesco now, and Morris in fourth.
So let's see, Di Francesco's going to have a run back at Ingram. Will Ingram be as rude as Di Francesco was last lap? Will he have a chance to be? Side by side, looks like they will. And now Ingram on the inside pays the favour back. I mean, Di Francesco kept it in there on the outside of two, and he might get away with that.
There's a launch up the inside from Job van Uitert, getting ahead of Seb Morris. So he's up into fourth place now, the young Dutchman. Di Francesco, oh, Morris goes round, and did he get a hit there from Gabby Chavez? And Morris is going to spin back onto the racing line, gets going again, just about. Managed to find a gap in traffic somewhere. Now there is Charlie Eastwood up into 8th place from the back of the field. That is going to be huge for his championship challenge.
Gutierrez is 10th though as well. Gutierrez has saved a load of points right now compared to Nicky Thiem. So Thiem's still going in 15th. The big guns are all coming through very well, as we thought they might with the overtaking around this track. And they're saving themselves big points still. But Eastwood up to 8th is the standout, and he's got more to go yet.
Tincknell out in front. Eastwood running in 8th position, trying to get past Millward. There is Di Francesco in the bottom left. Devlin going side by side with Job van Uitert. Van Uitert gets the cut back. Oh, that's going to be wheel to wheel. Devlin spins around. Van Uitert keeps going back on in front of Benya here, and he wipes out Chavez as well. And Charlie Eastwood now is 6th.
It's been an ugly race for Devlin Di Francesco, yes. And I think that just sums it all up there. I think he took about 3 or 4 cars out in 2 or 3 overzealous bits of driving. So he's been quick in the past. This time he's not been so quick, and he's been in the wars with pretty much everyone that's tried to pass him.
So Thiem is out of the race, as is Agustin Canapino, which are both huge things for the championship, as is Charlie Eastwood getting up into 6th position. So, and Gutierrez up into 9th place. So those two, I think, are about to launch themselves a little clear. Not as clear as that man, Harry Tincknell, we were just looking back from, because he can't see anyone in his rearview mirror as he comes through to start the final lap. But Eastwood and Gutierrez are going to have a good haul of points at the end of this one.
That's the reverse grid race makes such a big difference. If you can come through from the back unscathed, as Eastwood has done, onto the back of Aidan Millward now. This is for 5th place from the back. Is that Benya here as well, just in front, that he might pass 2 in 1 here?
3 wide. Oh, I think Ben Yahir. Oh, wow. How did they not hit each other? I was convinced Ben Yahir was going into the side of Eastwood, but Eastwood emerges in 4th position. This, for me, is the drive of the race All-Star Series ever.
This is about to launch Charlie Eastwood genuinely into championship contention. I never thought he'd be there from the opening 3 rounds. He hasn't had the pace, but this race and the last one, he's had the pace, and that move there on Ben Yahir and Millwood was just brilliant. So deep on the brakes, around the outside of one, inside of the other. Great drive, and he's up into 4th from pretty much right at the back.
But here comes Harry Tincknell through the final corner, out across the line, and it is a dominant win for Tincknell in the reverse grid race for the pros in the Race All-Star Series, powered by Rocket Phones. Tincknell takes the win. Ingram is going to be in 2nd. He's picked up a load of points over the last 2 races, and Job van Uitert is going to be 3rd across the line. Devlin DeFrancesco ending up in 8th place, just ahead of Gutierrez, or is Gutierrez going to get him on the line? They go wheel to wheel. I think Gutierrez has got it across the line. Gutierrez gets 8th place, and then the 2 go hard into the wall. Gabby Chavez ends up in 18th place without a front wing after that big crash. What a race. That was a lot of fun. This was a look at the 3 wide moment for Eastwood, Jolien.
Yes, that's Millwood ahead, and then Ben Yahir. Initially, he's just trying to pass Ada Millwood. Then Ben Yahir goes defensive, gives himself up to a slipstream, and look how late on the brakes Eastwood was, just so late on the brakes. Ben Yahir, I don't think we would have expected it, just Eastwood to be that deep on the brakes, clean around the outside, beautiful move. Nice driving for Ben Yahir and Millwood to be clean and fair as well, but that move was an absolute stormer.
So Tom Ingram finished 6th in both of the races last week. Now he's finished in 2nd in the reverse grid race. He's getting closer and closer towards the top of the championship. We can speak to Tom Ingram now. Tom, congratulations, a 2nd place finish. That was a strong race for you. No, didn't catch Harry Tincknell in the end, but you're a long way further back, but some great fights.
Yeah, definitely fighting. That's for sure. It was a fairly busy race, actually. It felt a lot more like a touring car race than it did one of these. But good fun, good points. I was wary that I had to finish as well because, I fell a little bit in that after I got changed position after the last race at Zandvoort. So I was mindful to try and score some points this time out. So it was always playing on my mind that I had to finish. Yeah, I wanted 2nd, and I wanted the win, and we were closing towards the end, but 6 seconds I think I had to make up with 2 laps to go. I was happy to settle for 2nd.
Okay, well, congratulations. See you next week.
See you next week. Thanks, guys.
So what a great drive from Tom Ingram, a huge haul of points. Next up, we're going to have our reverse grid race for the Sim Masters. Then it'll be the reverse grid race for the Legends Trophy. See you in a few minutes.
Well, one series done for the day, and Ingram absolutely, has. But I think if you took the first 2 weeks out of it and just looked at week 3 and 4, he's got to be the highest point scoring position right now over that brief period of time, Julian.
He'll be up there, yeah, but I think he probably lost too many points early on, particularly when Gutierrez still came from the back to score well, and Charlie Eastwood has been the standout of the day. 3rd earlier on, 4th in that race, huge points haul, and he's brought himself right into the mix. And he said when Jack spoke to him earlier, to be honest, I've just done a bit of practice for this one. If he keeps it up next week, he could be a title favourite.
Nicky Team had a 3rd and a 5th in round 2. So that's the closest we've got to this 3rd and a 4th. So there it is, the best result over 2 races we've seen so far this championship.
Yeah, and significant. I think Harry Tincknell's actually on the line. I was going to get to Paul, your thoughts on some of the driving standards, because it was a little rough, but let's hear from Harry first.
Well,
Harry,
I guess it depends on where you live.
That was, what were you feeling when you were driving and the gaps behind you just got bigger and bigger for the whole race?
So honestly, like when you're off the front row, you just want the most boring, easiest race possible. And to be honest, ever since the first race, I've just been doing practice starts, just trying to absolutely nail that getaway and get into turn 1 in the lead, because I knew from there I'd just head down and I could have the pace to hopefully hold on. And it was, it was just a dream race from that point of view. Every lap, the gap was going up like crazy. And I was thinking, well, when I was 7-8 seconds ahead, it was just about keeping it on the road. So super happy, obviously, to get the first win.
Yeah, well, as ever, Harry, thanks for being so boring.
No, thank you very much. I mean, every dog has their day, I guess, and I've been doing this for a few weeks now, and super enjoying, the All-Stars trophy, and just buzzing to get the first win. So keep up the good work. Cheers.
Congratulations. See you next week. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, Paul, I was just going to get to it very quickly. The driving standards, obviously, Di Francesco was in the wars quite a bit. There was a number of attempts into the first corner, but you were starting to say maybe that's what you're used to in North America.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to see them bump tires with one another, and of course, you have to execute that pretty carefully, because if you get inside one of those tires, then you're going to take a nice trip through the air. But that's what we see, and you may call it rude, but we call it exciting.
It's certainly entertaining, no question about that. And if you want more entertainment, by the way, don't forget to make sure you follow all of us on down below, hitting subscribe on this YouTube channel, but at We Are The Race on both Twitter and Instagram. Jack, that is a pretty impressive result from Eastwood, but that also changes the championship for the manufacturers. Gutierrez may have got through, but Anthony Davidson didn't really score a lot today.
Well, firstly, I thought you were about to plug my esports podcast, but you didn't. So the Race Esports podcast, if you want to download that, it's really good, actually. We spoke to Chembolic Bassi last week. Very interesting. But so download that. But you're absolutely right that the teams championship is really important as well. With Ant Davidson not scoring as many points as he would have hoped in the reverse grid race, Gutierrez coming through, but also Nicky Thiem not scoring any points at all. That's going to affect Aston Martin. So really excited to see what happens with the Pro Cup in the title finale next week. And at the end of the show today, we'll bring you up to date with all of the championship standings. But now we're about to turn our attention to the Sim Masters reverse race. And then after that, we're going to be having the reverse grid race for the Legends Trophy on the Oval, which we're all really looking forward to.
Welcome back again to the Race All-Star Series, powered by Rocket Phones. It's time for the Sim Masters, to do the reverse race grid. And we know there was people that intentionally put themselves in that position. Kevin Siggy comes to mind. I think Brzezowski tried it. I think there was a few that were trying to hit that 107% rule, but also get the pole. And it's a strategy, certainly, but Bono Huis seems to just be doing all the job up front as it is, and now has a comfy lead at the top of the championship.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this reverse grid race, because pole position for this one is Michael Romanidis, the Williams Esports driver. Kuba Brzezinski alongside him on the front row of the grid. Kevin Siggy could only manage 8th, and that's to me where this reverse grid plan feels risky, because if you don't pull it off perfectly, you're in 8th place, kind of in no man's land, neither at the front for neither race. So I think that's where it gets a little bit difficult. Again, the front runners to look out for are Bono Huis, Kuba Brzezinski and Jurnej Simoncic, charging from towards the back of the field. How far Huis can climb up the order is going to be fascinating. Apparently the chat again is lit up with me saying Bono Huis were wrong, but as I say every week, he asks me to say Bono Huis, so I say Bono Huis instead of Bono Huis. One day, I won't answer that question. Yuri Toman starts in 23rd place, but this 7-lap race for the Sim Masters about to get underway around Indianapolis road course. Romanidis on pole, Kuba Brzezinski alongside him on the front row of the grid. Brzezinski in championship contention, as is Kevin Siggy in 8th place as the race gets underway. On board with Romanidis, looking back at the battle coming down into turn 1. Brzezinski's got a good getaway on the outside, and in fact he takes the lead away immediately into the first corner. Brzezinski in first, Romanidis second, the two Williams Esports racers away together. Liam Duval trying to get through, has a bit of a wheel bang with Romanidis in the battle for second place, and he's got it, has Liam Duval, but Brzezinski is out in front.
And a nice cushy 1 second lead as well. So that's not worked for Romanidis at all. Starting from reverse grid pole should have been perfect, but just didn't get away from the line quickly. And Erhan Yayovsky actually made a great start, but then just got a bit hung out to dry on the outside at turn 1, so couldn't make any progress. Unlike Brzezinski, championship rival, who is up into the lead, Kevin Siggy has dropped out of the top 10.
So that has not worked out at all well for Kevin Siggy, to put it very mildly indeed. Brzezinski in front, Duval in second place, Romanidis third, Yayovsky fourth, Sciarra fifth, Milan, Epps, Pinto, Kasdorp and Lind the rest of the top 10. Rudy von Buren's 25th, Jene Simoncic is 24th. And we have got out at the end of lap 1, Kuba Brzezinski's lead 7/10 of a second over Liam Duval in second place. Lap 2 of 7. This is the battle for third position, with Romanidis in that third spot at the moment, just 2/10 ahead of Erhan Yayovsky, who we haven't really spoken about much today. Yayovsky, he's very much a front runner. He's only 7th in the championship, the Macedonian. Also, my apologies, I think I called Simoncic Macedonian earlier, but it's Yayovsky who's the Macedonian. My apologies. Yeah, Simoncic running in 4th place in the standings, Yayovsky 7th in the standings, but 4th here, trying to chase down Romanidis. And it's been a tough season this for Yayovsky, because he was running at the front earlier on in Malaysia at times, lost out the win in the final couple of laps, but he hasn't managed to pull it all together consistently over the course of this 5-week. Oh no, off! And that is Yayovsky. Just as I talk about him, he's in the wall and upside down.
Out of the race. I think you just saw him quitting straight off as well on the inset, having no more of that. You were saying it's been a tough championship, this one. He was the reigning series champ in the last one, but he's just not gelled. He's made too many mistakes in this car. It's a very different car to the LMP3 car that we had, the low-powered sort of sports car prototype. Now, these high-powered single-seaters, they're harder to control, particularly on power, and Yayovsky's made too many errors, and that was another one.
There is Dennis Lind in the bottom left, running in 7th position, chasing down Yuri Kasdorp. This is a replay of Erhan Yayovsky. What happens here? Does he just drop a wheel on the grass, maybe?
Suspect that's what's going to happen. He's right up to it, and just as the grass turns to curb, he loses the rear of the car. I can only imagine he's just touched the left rear on the grass and then lost it, as you see so many times in single-seater racing. In Formula One, even the best drivers in the world are making mistakes like that. But it is nonetheless a bit of a sloppy one, and Yayovsky is not going to score big points. That basically rules him out of this title then.
Certainly does. We're on board here with Dennis Lind still, right behind Yuri Kasdorp, battling over 6th place. Down the start-finish straight, starting lap 4 of 7 now in the Sim Masters reverse grid in the Race All-Star Series, powered by Rocket Phones. Bit of a lock-up in front. That's Sciarra and Milan going side by side. Someone getting on the grass there, but this group of cars absolutely together.
It seems that the guys have kind of lost respect for the race course in terms of getting off into the grass. And as we've seen, that can be deadly. Off on the grass means almost feels like you're on the ice. So you really want to avoid that.
Lap 4 of 7. Brzezinski, a second ahead of Romanidis. Liam Duval in 3rd spot still. Those three have really broken away. Then it's all this queue behind Zbigniew Sciarra, the pole, ahead of Milan, Kasdorp, Lind, Lee, Siggy, Epps, all in this line together. So what can Kevin Siggy do? Because he's gambled on this reverse grid strategy. He's in 9th place, trying to get past Brendan Lee. Here we go with Dennis Lind. Oh, he's going to try and get 2 here. He's got Milan on the right. Right in front of him is Yuri Kasdorp. I don't think there's going to be enough room for Lind to squeeze through on the inside of Kasdorp. There isn't, but he gains 1 place at least. That's up into 6th place. William Milan still loses 2 spots, down 1 straight.
Smart move from Lind on Milan, at least. Good on the brakes again around the outside. I thought Milan might have had a chance to save that place, but Lind too good on the brakes and following Yuri Kasdorp through. Romanidis has passed Duval. Duval passed him at the start on the first lap, remember, and then I think the last lap, Romanidis came back through and into second place.
Through the hairpin right-hander. Then the switch back through the left. A bit of a slide there for Dennis Lind. Kuba Brzezinski out in front. 1.4 seconds.
Whopper of a slide from Lind there through the final corner. Huge moment. He somehow hasn't lost momentum. The other thing to say is Bono Huis, I think, is 14th. I think Bono Huis is up to 14th, which is a phenomenal effort. And basically, these reverse grid races have been why he's doing so well in the championship, and he's having another cracker here.
Here comes Dennis Lind again under pressure from Boya Milan, and there goes Brendan Lee to the outside into turn one. What a nice move from the Mercedes driver. Lee gets up into 7th place, Milan in 8th, Siggy still in 9th. David Greco, the Italian, has now got up into the top 10. So Siggy was trying to battle and get ahead of Brendan Lee, but Lee has carved through the order and now up into 7th spot, trying to chase down Dennis Lind in front. Onto the back straight.
Lind's just sliding around everywhere, just right on the limit of the rear tyres. And now Brendan Lee then, after making that nice move, is also sliding everywhere. But he was catching the back of Dennis Lind. That big slide has just cost Brendan Lee and just dropped him back a little bit. And now Lind should pick up a bit of slipstream still from Kasdorp potentially ahead. Otherwise, he might be a sitting duck for Brendan Lee.
Final lap of the race now for Kuba Brzezinski. Romanidis in second, 1.3 seconds back. Should be fairly straightforward for Brzezinski, but here comes Lee on Lind. Lee goes to the outside. Quite an unusual route into this, Brendan Lee, because he started with the Codemasters F1 games, and usually the sim drivers go from your R-Factor to your Codemasters games, but he's gone the opposite way as he tries to fight and get ahead of Dennis Lind, who is a real world racing driver in the GT World Challenge. He's running in 6th place in this Sim Masters category, so always really impressive to see Lind up at the front of the order. But Kuba Brzezinski is in control out in front. We'll see where the next highest of the front runners is going to be on the left-hand side as far as the championship is concerned. But the final lap of the race has Brzezinski out in front, the second ahead of Romanidis. There's a yellow flag out there somewhere in sector 2. That goes away pretty swiftly as we come towards the final sequence of corners. Kuba Brzezinski out in front with another strong result to come across the line. The man third in the championship is going to take his first win of the season. Here comes Brzezinski down and across the line to take the win in the reverse grid Sim Masters race. His first win of the season, and it keeps him in the championship hunt. Romanidis in second place and Liam Duval finishing in 3rd position then at the line. Let's see how high the closest of our reverse gridders managed to get on, but Brzezinski's done it again, and well, he was 3rd in the reverse grid race 1, 2nd in the reverse grid race 2, 2nd in the reverse grid race 3, 1st in the reverse grid of race 4. He's got his plan nailed, hasn't he, Jolien?
Well, he also had a really good non-reverse grid race today, coming from pretty much the back. I think he finished about 14th or 13th, which is similar to Bono Huis in this race. So he's going with a set strategy, but it's going to haul him right up towards the championship fight after this victory.
Certainly is. We'll see whether we... I think we can... Well, let's have a look at this. Bono Huis got up to 13th then. So he finished in 13th place, Bono Huis. Let's speak now to our 6th place finisher, Dennis Lind, after that race. A man who's continuing to show himself very impressively in with these actual full-on sim races. Dennis, a professional racing driver. Dennis, 6th place. You happy with that? Some good fights out there.
Yeah, it was good. I was helping my teammate Yuri Kastov to get up to the front, and meanwhile he left a bit of space for me to jump past them as well. So I think this race was really difficult for many people because normally we have DRS, and for this race it was open all the time, so it sort of neutralized the whole DRS effect, and this sort of created a bit interesting situations. But I think for what it was a really good result for the second race, something that I needed for all of this championship, basically.
Yeah, what do you think has happened for you in this championship?
I think I've been qualifying all right. I mean, I'm pretty happy with qualifying within top 15 in this group. And I think it's also one of the more congested areas. Like if you gain 100s or 200s in that area, you gain 5 positions. And during the start
I'm afraid we've got to leave it there. But congratulations, Dennis, on your 6th place finish. We'll be back in a few moments for the reverse grid Legends Trophy race. Sorry, Dennis.
Thanks, you, Jack. Cutting off Dennis. You made Petter Solberg miss a qualifying. You're getting good at the interviews, aren't you? And he's out. Julian, that was a pretty impressive race. I have to point out, Bono Huis again, the racecraft from the back of the grid seems to be very solid. Simic didn't get past 22nd. So that, again, is going to open up a massive points gap.
It's what makes such a big difference in this series. You've got the normal race where Bono Huis has been very quick, but you've also had Rudy van Buren and Jone Simoncic. Coming from the back is another skill, and that's where actually Brzezinski did a really good job in the first race. Huis did a really good job in that race, and I think when we look at the points tallies at the end, that's going to be what sets those two apart today.
Yeah, Brzezinski, absolutely. You're right, Jack. You pointed out the results, has that strategy nailed. What do you make of that, Paul? Maybe intentionally going slow to get the pole. Do you think it's worth it in this field, in this close competition?
Well, it seems to work. I'm surprised there's not some method of, if someone actually really tries hard to do that, and we saw it there, maybe there ought not to be the situation evolved that way. Maybe if you intentionally go slow, that should not be allowed. But it is what it is. Again, the word's excitement.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, the 100% rule is in effect, but with the amount of time these guys have, all they have to do is jam the brakes on at the line or lift and coast. It's a nail-biting decision to make because Siggy only got 8th, obviously. But yeah, it's an interesting thought. It's definitely food for thought. Nonetheless, we've got to look forward, and we're going to go the correct direction on the track into turn 1 again, but we will have a reverse grid, which means Button, Alonso near the back. Maybe it means Andretti can be closer to the front. I'm pretty excited to see where this does go, as we'll take a peek into it now.
Hi guys, Scott Pruitt here. I cannot wait for the Legends race. This will be my first sim race ever. I've done a lot of sim driving to keep myself in shape and to get ready for the next race, but I've never had that opportunity to go wheel to wheel with anybody in an actual race. So that's gonna be, I'm a little nervous and excited at the same time. So let me show you my rig. Built this thing, initially built it back in 2011. Curved screen, butt kickers, Alienware drives the whole system. It's on wheels, so it's very mobile. I can move it around. Spent a lot of miles driving this thing. It's gonna be so much fun. Check us out. ESPN, YouTube, a lot of legends, wheel-to-wheel combat, baby.
So many different variations on the sim. Very cool to see the technology they're all using. And Scott Pruitt, another driver that's joined us for this week. Paul, if I'm not mistaken, you said you have Scott's helmet behind you.
No, not a Scott. Not a Scott Pruitt.
Sorry, I thought it was one of Scott's.
Fernandez. I've got a Scott Goodyear and Al Unser Jr. That's the incredible finish that you see right over there. And of course, I have an Adrian Fernandez, which he was kind enough to autograph for me. But the helmets today, way too expensive. Can't do that.
They are expensive and probably a bit hot to wear in the sim. This is, again, going to be another hot race. I have to look to Mario Andretti, Jack. I mentioned it quickly before we went into that. He had amazing pace despite being a lap down. Maybe this is the chance to shine for him.
I think
I'm really interested to see what emerges over the course of this race, because like you say, we've got people starting at the back who didn't qualify well, but that doesn't mean they can't race well and don't have the pace. Absolutely buzzing to see what unfolds in the Legends Trophy. We saw Andretti had good pace, maybe the third best pace out there. If he's starting at the front, I can't even imagine if he wins this afternoon.
The Race All-Star Series, powered by Rocket Phones and arguably powering the best grid in all of motorsport history. We get ready to take on the Indy Oval once again with some of the most incredible names. Andretti, Alonso, Button was in second place and nearly got a win in the first run. He's never been there in real life, and yet he had the skill. So many drivers to look at head-to-head, but one of them obviously has to be the names, I guess, that have been around the longest. Fittipaldi and Andretti, both of these guys taking into a virtual world that didn't exist when they grew up and doing it very well.
Yeah, especially Emerson. They both. You're absolutely right. But we have, there's two world driving champions sitting right there. And now they're going to attempt to win in something they've never won before. Another feather in their cap, as you see.
I think it's just very cool to see, such names take an interest into the sim world. And obviously it shows the determination and their love for the sport that is definitely not hindered or dwindled over the years, Jack. I mean, they jumped at this opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's the really cool part of it, isn't it? That even at 80 years of age and 73 for Andretti and Fittipaldi respectively, they're like, yeah, let's crack on with this and see what we can do. And we saw Mario really knows what he's doing in particular. He had really good speed in the first race. I think he's the person everybody would want to win this second race, no matter who you support. But I think it'll be fascinating to see what he can do. And we saw fairly clean racing, I felt, in race one. I was expecting a bit of chaos. That's what we tend to get with the Legends Trophy races. But everybody sort of took it pretty seriously. We had some big accidents still, but it was pretty clean, I thought, in terms of what we've seen from the Legends Trophy in the past.
Well, we've got the voice of the Indy 500, so it's only fitting, Paul, we hand it over to you as we get ready to do it all again on the reverse grid.
Now, this is going to be exciting, especially because it is, in fact, the reverse grid. And that will put some very interesting names up to the front of the field. But we'll take a look at that field now with Brian Herta sitting right there in the second row, and Brabham, Dominguez. Those are some nice lineup, but look at Mario Andretti sitting there in 8th place. Keep an eye on him. He has a reputation for really getting good starts. Scott Pruitt, you spoke to him earlier. Max Pappas, who I think is an incredible driver and ran many IndyCar races. Helio's the best, the Spider-Man. Maybe he'll get to climb the fence today. And, of course, Team Montoya. We'll see what happens with that. So they're out there. They're on the course as we go through the remainder of the field. Michel Jourdain and Dario Franchitti, back in the field. The reverse grid, I like it. I'm not sure I'd like it in reality, but I like this very much. So there's Alonso, Servia, Button, and Solberg. That's the back end of the whole thing. And so they have their work cut out for them. And as you saw in the first race, it's very little opportunity for someone to really move up quickly when you're talking on the oval. So we'll see how that works for us as they come through the final turns. And the field is ready to go. Look at that front row. They're lining up over one of the tunnels. And now we take a look at the start-finish line just ahead. Interesting how they've staggered themselves. And here we go. We're into the green flag and racing is underway at Indianapolis, virtually. And we're seeing the guys move up quickly. Look at the battle here going with Brian Herta as well. Salo's in there. He is the leader of the race. Herta right behind him. Brabham moving up a bit. Fittipaldi is right there, as is, Castroneves just comes around Pruitt. Look at the advance that Helio Castroneves is making. That's pretty spectacular. They're all realizing that they have to get up to the front on a race like this just as fast as they can. course, the other side of that is you have to be incredibly careful when you're doing that sort of thing. Jack?
Yeah, it is Serbia who is in front at the moment. That's Mika Salo. We're looking at the bottom left. Sorry, it's not Serbia. My apologies. It's Mika Salo in the bottom left that is leading. That's the concentration we see. Herta is to the outside there on the right. We're riding with Tonio Liuzzi, and Emerson Fittipaldi were on board within 10th place in the top right, but he's just lost a little bit of ground. So Salo in front of Herta, in front of Liuzzi. The Serbian name there is a bit of a bug at the moment. Hopefully that'll disappear as the race goes on.
Alonso is up to 6th place already.
Spoke with Herta the other day. He is, of course, the guy who talks Alexander Rossi around the course. He's the tactician for that track. And, of course, then his son, Colin Herta, is driving now in the Indy cars. And that kid is spectacular. It's almost sim racing for him. It doesn't seem to be a problem with throwing the car sideways. So Serbia goes to the front. Salo second. There's the battle for third.
So towards the turns 3 and 4, it's Salo, Liuzzi, and now Brabham. Brabham's in there for the lead, and Brabham takes the lead. What a great move from David Brabham. He's up into first place. Ignores Serbia on the top left. That is an error, but it is Brabham in first, Salo second, Liuzzi third, and then Herta and Castroneves side by side in 4th and 5th.
Serbia, of course, Catalonian, and he is very confident. I really like him. He's small. He's almost tiny, but he has so much energy and drives so well. So Serbia, then you're sitting with Brabham, of course, and he has so much Indianapolis tradition behind him and riding in that cockpit. Side by side, we see them go.
So Mika Salo, the race leader now. Liuzzi in the orange car, trying to get up into second, but there to the bottom goes Herta and hits Liuzzi. And Herta goes around. Liuzzi manages to keep on his way. So Salo leads. The Finnish Formula One driver is in first place. Brabham in second, David Brabham, and Fernando Alonso now up into third position with Tiago Monteiro in fourth. So Alonso, Jolyon, has climbed up the order.
Well, he made such a great start to come through the field, and now with that contact as well, it's up into third, and you can see the race lead already. Alonso, the winner from the earlier race, has got a great chance to double up. Still Brabham leading Salo, the two of them with a good 2-second cushion to Fernando Alonso and Tiago Monteiro, but I can just see that that gap could come down. And Alonso's going to be in this race win fight again, I think. Jenson Button, by the way, is 11th, just outside of the top 10.
I think it's amazing how quickly Alonso was able to move his way to the front, knowing that you have to be so careful in doing that. Here we go, side by side yet once again.
So
again, here at the Speedway, the timings are so critical when you want to make those passes. You don't want to get out and then have to come back in, because then you lose all your momentum. And generally speaking, it's a lap or two before you can get back into that position. Through the short chute. Brabham looking very good there. Alonso, he's spectacular. What a race driver this man is.
He's amazing, isn't he? But he's under pressure from Monteiro. 15 minutes left on the clock. Salo back in front. He's got ahead of Brabham. And then it is, a big hit there. Castroneves and Liuzzi hitting each other.
You kind of saw that coming. It was telegraphed a little bit. Unfortunately, the damage factors in this are not as real as Speedway in real time. That would have been disastrous. But virtual racing, yeah, this is so cool. They just keep going.
Here's the fight again. Alonso in the fight for the lead now. We're riding with Alonso. To the right is David Brabham. To the left is Mika Salo.
How much is their hearts going to sink when they see Fernando Alonso 5 minutes into the race is already battling with them for the lead? That's the last thing they want. The guy that's just won started from the back right up into the mix. And Salo and Brabham have been driving really nice races, but they've not fundamentally been as quick as Alonso. But of course, probably Alonso will never break away from them at this pace. The draft is too big, and we're going to be into a big old game of cat and mouse again with the top 4.
As we watch Alonso down on the inside there, it's and we go on board, it's not just the draft behind them, but also the turbulence. Now he goes out past the wake, moves to the front, but can he hold that position? And he does. He forces his way up into the front, and once again, a new leader.
So Alonso out in front. Salo, Monteiro and Brabham are the 4 fighting for the lead of the race. Ignore the Oriol Servia message up at the top saying he's leading. He is not. He's further back in the order. It's a bit of an error with the timing system. But it is Salo, Alonso, Monteiro, Brabham, the 4 for the lead. 13 minutes to go.
Salo made nice moves to put himself in that position, but as you see, Alonso's having none of it. Neither, for that matter, is Brabham, who's worrying the guys in front of him as hard as he can. They're really keeping everybody on their toes here. Oh, that's a dangerous dive to make that turn.
Alonso just put his wheels on the inside grooves, I think, and had a huge slide, skating the whole way across the track. And when he came back correcting it, almost sideswiped Monteiro, similar to Liuzzi earlier on in the race, but they both got away with it. But I think Alonso just dropped slightly too low in that bend.
Well, it's so precise, as you well know, as we take a look at go side by side once again. Alonso trying to make a move, sitting in the right position, but look down on the inside. Well done. This is absolutely amazing. This has so much reality to it. There's Alonso kind of pushing to the outside. Excuse me, knocking on your door. I'd like to come through here.
Crash in the background. Don't see who dropped it, but it was out of about 6th or 7th place. Someone spat to the inside out of the final corner. Hasn't changed the lead battle.
And a spin to the backstretch. That's going to change some things. Salo. So Monteiro, Alonso, Brabham appears to be the order right now. And take a look at Monteiro as he rides on the back end of Alonso. Onto the front straight again. Searching for that first turn. I'm surprised that this many cars are still this close with just over 11 minutes, 50 seconds to go. We still have the field fairly close in, but then you get further back, and no, there's quite a gap there.
Mika Salo then dropped it out of that lead pack, and he's down to the fringes of the top 10. He's managed to carry on, but early race leader's gone. And you're right, Paul. We've still got kind of 2.5. David Brabham's desperate to stick with these top 2 of Monteiro and Alonso. If he can't do it, then we're back into what looks to be a 2-car race. Jenson Button, Alonso's rival from race 1, is now up to 4th place, though.
That's good, and as he comes forward, that's going to add more complexity to this battle at the front. And you see how that occurs there. It puts Fernando out in front of the race. Alonso is now reading the race, but I don't think it will be for long. There's some pretty anxious competition behind him. Down into the corner, everybody maintains their position across the north chute, turning toward the main straightaway. Pit lane would be off to their left should they have needed it. Fortunately, they don't need it today. Look how tight, though. Look how tight. And look at Brabham just back there kind of watching this, seeing what's going on in front of him. Dario Franchitti, you see the upper right, he's got a wide road ahead of him. No one really to contest in the front. And there you go with another lead change as Monteiro goes to the front. Alonso second, Brabham third, and Button. He's right up there now. 4th place, Castroneves right behind him. Franchitti and Montoya, they're making their moves too. They're at the back end of the top 10. But look how fast all of these positions change. Jack, are you loving this?
This is brilliant, isn't it? Like, it's such a pleasure to have you here, Paul, calling this, just so I don't have to do it and I can just sit back and watch these legends racing against each other. There is Castroneves in the top right. He's right behind Jenson Button in that 4th place battle. Monteiro going for the lead again. I thought Brabham was back in this front 3, but then he seems to have dropped away a little bit in the last couple of laps, so he's not quite there at the front. It's still Alonso versus Monteiro for the win. 9 minutes to go, and I think Franchitti had a bit of a moment in all of that, because he was up, as you said, up into 8th place. Then as soon as we looked at him, he seemed to be dropping down the order. But this is brilliant stuff. If Alonso makes it 2 out of 2, what a performance that'll be.
Well, with just under 9 minutes to go, Alonso and Monteiro continue to battle. As Alonso drops to 2nd, Monteiro takes the lead. Brabham remains in 3rd, but somewhat back. You want to keep track of Button. He's been very impressive. Now, can he make it out and around Brabham and get in contact with the leaders? Look at this. Look how he pokes the nose right up under the wing of the car in front of him. Monteiro takes the corner nicely. Alonso comes out just as far. Again, this is all about momentum. You can drive this track. Whoa, Alonso is going to try for it. I don't think that's going to be a try. I think that he's got it done. So Alonso comes back to the lead. This is unbelievable. This is a great race. So the top 4 there, you saw them all together on the straight. Alonso, Monteiro, Button. Brabham's now back into the play. Let's take a look at this. This is Alonso trying that move to the inside. Side by side they are. He's just off the right side. Best entry is kind of mid-track to that turn, though you'd really like to try and enter it from the high side.
Button's ahead of Brabham.
Oh! We almost saw a problem there with Alonso. He takes the lead back. Lost the back end a little bit there.
That Brabham, Button, Castroneves fight over 3rd place is super tight. That's what we're seeing in the top right. Castroneves we're riding with. Then it's Brabham in front of him. Then it's Button in front of him. While on the main screen, we see Alonso and Monteiro wheel to wheel for the lead of the race. Is Monteiro going to come back through? Goes to the inside for 3, and he does. And it's still side by side between Brabham and Button for 3rd.
Unbelievable. Seeing them fight back and forth. It puts me in mind of many Indianapolis 500-mile races we've seen. So Monteiro back to the front, then Alonso, then a bit back, Button, Castroneves. Castroneves is no doubt learning from Button as he tucks in behind him. And Button, he's still, in my point of view, very much in this race, despite how far back he is, with just under 6.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, the gap is coming down. There's no doubt about that. But he needs to work with the guys around him, I guess, Paul, if they want to close in on the leaders. They can't be fighting too much.
Yeah, you need some help from the guy in front of you. And you also, since you are capable of controlling the car in front of you when you're very up close to some degree, you need to decide when you're going to actually make that happen, because you don't want to telegraph what you're going to do on the final lap too soon in the race. Right now, though, with Monteiro, Alonso, Brabham, Button, Castroneves, but the first 3 are right together. Here comes another move for the front. And just that easy. That's really, really great.
Alonso back in the
and now
first,
Button has made his move. Alonso, Monteiro, Button, Brabham, Castroneves. Look at Helio there, that bright yellow car.
5 minutes to go. And Monteiro back in front of Alonso, sorry, as they come into turn number 1.
I can't believe this back and forth battling at the front of the field. It's something you never really see. It has happened, but back and forth constantly. It puts me in mind actually years and years ago to the 1960 Indianapolis 500, which was eventually won by I have a brain fade. But that was a back and forth, and Jim Rathman finally took the win of that race. But the same thing, almost every corner, changing constantly. And that's what we're seeing here. Alonso back to the front again, and we'll see if he'll remain there when we get to the second turn.
A record 29 lead changes that year in 1960, Jim Rathman and Roger Ward. There's Emerson Fittipaldi in the bottom left, Paul. Great to see him driving.
Alonso to the inside. Brabham closing on Button. It's always been an interesting thing to me, and just mentioned it earlier, and that is if you're Formula One, generally something is referred to as a shunt. In the United States, we wreck or we have crashes. Look at that. Look at that. That's just unbelievable. And then in a book called Stroker Ace, which was a hilarious book about the Indianapolis 500, at one point the legendary but not real driver Stroker said that a shunt is just a dented fender trying to pass itself off as a wreck. So no offense there.
So there is Emerson Fittipaldi running in 13th place. The 73-year-old Brazilian having a good drive, you have to say, in 13th position. Andretti's in 19th, so I think he's been in some of those wrecks up at the front. Brabham, Castroneves and Button are now just 1.5 seconds back from Alonso and Monteiro. It was up at 3 seconds before. So they're closing in on the leading two.
With just 2 minutes, 35 seconds to go. Alonso has it right now. Can he hold it? Now we're also seeing some traffic just ahead. That can figure into the finish. Hopefully the traffic will understand that that's the leaders coming up behind them and will give way to them. But it doesn't always happen that way. Alonso, of course, is doing everything he can to create a little turbulence to the back there, gets down inside the corner. Monteiro stays with him. Castroneves is just back. Button, Brabham. This race is not by any means decided yet. Just under 2 minutes to go.
Look how close that next three are. Castroneves, Button and Brabham closing in. What is going to happen here with this traffic that they're coming up to? Alonso and Monteiro, how much time will they lose?
Exactly. And then what's that going to mean for Castroneves and Button? If they're going to lose time coming up behind these cars, then that's going to close the front of the field down very tight. Then also you have to figure out how to get around them. Alonso, Monteiro, Button, Castroneves, Brabham, and your top five. Traffic ahead.
This is going to get busy.
Everybody good through 1 and 2. Now the wide open back straightaway. Monteiro's going to try it once again. Unbelievable. But this time, is he going to take Button with him? Castroneves comes in on this fight as well. Monteiro behind Alonso. Castroneves a bit back behind Alonso to the front now. Monteiro and then Castroneves a bit further back.
So Alonso in front, Monteiro with him in second place. They are coming up to pass Tom Coronel in the yellow and red car, who's one of the back markers. In the top, you're seeing Button right behind Castroneves. I think they're not going to be able to join the lead fight. Here comes Alonso, still in front of Monteiro, and he's got a bit of a gap now, 6/10, as we're riding with Monteiro chasing down Alonso as they come past Coronel.
Now the time has run. Let's see how this lap runs.
And that's the checkered flag. That's the final lap, and it's the win for Fernando Alonso again. a double race winner at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Amazing stuff, Paul.
Unbelievable. And I think it's predictive, as I've said before. He's such a good guy. He learns so quickly, as you see just with the sim racing as well, in this whole virtual world. So, yeah, he will be at Indianapolis, and I suspect for several more years. And if he gets a proper team supporting him, then I think you're going to see another 3, perhaps 4-time champion. But then guys like Helio Castroneves, who's trying to get up there as well. Those numbers are very important to each of these drivers. Most of them consider, all right, you got your Formula One championship, you got everything else, but Indianapolis is the pinnacle, and Fernando Alonso sits on the pinnacle right now.
Well, what a great reverse grid and Legends Trophy race that was. As far as the championship is concerned, Buttons had another great race. Look, Emanuele Pirro not really troubling the front in these ovals. So as a result, I think Button's lead is going to be pretty healthy after this one going into the title finale next week. But great to see these legends racing on the Indianapolis Oval Circuit. And I think from all of us, Paul Page, it's been an absolute pleasure having you call these races.
What a fun. So fun. Thank you.
Memories coming back. It's been brilliant. Max Papis finishing further down the order in 11th place, Plato 12th. Jan Magnussen.
Look at my guy Mario down there, 19th.
Yeah, Mario Andretti finishing in 19th place. A shame he couldn't keep with the guys at the front in the end, but still, this is his first, delve into this kind of racing. These other guys have been doing it for weeks now. So a 2-time Indy winner, 2-time F1 champion, 2-time Le Mans winner, Fernando Alonso. He's got the triple crown. So hopefully we'll be hearing from some of the drivers before too long. Matt, well, I think we can speak to Mario Andretti now and find out how he got on in that race. Mario, your pace today was really impressive. Can you hear us? And how have you enjoyed today?
Well, I can hear you. I had a blast, but obviously it seemed like I was part of every situation that was happening out there. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Mario, you have the heart of a champion. All of your victories, as now have you been you've gotten into this. Are we going to see more of you? Because it looked like you actually enjoyed it a great deal.
Well, you never say never, I think so. We have the rig here. I just have to get a little more familiar.
How long did it take you to get up to speed, do you think? When you first sat in it, were you like, this is really strange, or did it come quite naturally?
Well, it was not natural because it's so different. What I have going against me is that you drive it differently, obviously, and the line is a little different. So you have to understand just what that rig wants, what the sim likes, and how aggressive you can get and all of that. So there's a definite learning curve, no question about it.
I've just finished writing my autobiography, and Mario has been kind enough to put the intro to it, and it begins with, Paul Page is not a rat. Thanks, Mario.
Okay. Paul, Mario,
it's going to require some more explanation, but it'll be in the book.
Mario, we'll hopefully see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So brilliant to have Mario Andretti then speaking to us. We'll be back with more reaction to the Legends Trophy in a couple of minutes' time.
Well, it wasn't the best of debuts last week for Alonso, but we mentioned it. Button struggled as well, and the old F1 cars maybe a bit more of a handful, but a double win on the second weekend at the most competitive in terms of times, in terms of how close the field was, track we've had yet. That is remarkable, Julian.
I'll tell you what, it is incredible. He made a great start. I think those back markers for the last sort of 2 or 3 laps really helped him, because it meant he had a big draft. Before that, Monteiro was able to just keep with him. The last 2 or 3 laps, Alonso was getting the draft as well from all those sort of 5 or 6 back markers, and he just went away. And in the end, he won it with a little bit of ease. So he's a champ. You know, he's a champ in Formula One, Le Mans, the virtual Indy race as well. He's a great driver, and he's shown it today.
I think that's part of it, Jack. You know, I touched on this, I think, on this show as well as a few other shows that we've been involved in, but we can complain about physics or the fact that there's not, as you said, Paul, the 5Gs. It's not as straining in that sense, but you still, as a good driver, have to be able to adapt and be able to drive anything quickly. And Alonso seems to have that skill.
I think that's the thing. To come through the field on 2 occasions and to win is not luck. In a field that big, with that much driving talent, with that much IndyCar knowledge, Alonso wasn't involved in a single wreck. You could see him playing it perfectly, sitting in the slipstreams, taking the right lines. That's not luck. You know, it's not in the lap of the gods, this sim racing stuff. It's different to real world, of course it is. But there's a skill to it. There's a driving skill to it. And Alonso demonstrates he's certainly got it.
He seems super focused as well, Paul. I mean, you said it as well. If we can get a good car at Indy, this could be a guy for multiple titles there.
I think he will, and I absolutely am sure there are multiple titles in his future. At this, of course, the Indy cars now have the new aero screen, which is like the Halo in Formula One. Never been on the racetrack head-to-head with other cars. You'll see it when they go to the Texas World Speedway. A lot of questions to be answered there because of the lack of practice they've had to get ready for the season. But the season begins in just a couple of weeks, and we're going racing. I hope all of you will come along and join the Indianapolis 500 coverage. And come to the track. Come be part of the 300,000.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. August 23rd, I think, is the new date. And you make a great point. The windscreen hasn't been used head-to-head. It has been in testing. There was preseason. I know Felix Rosenquist was on with us. He talked about it, trying to see it and get through it. It actually didn't bother him too much. But Tony Kanaan, who is coming back for the Indy 500, he won't see it until then. So that's going to be pretty impressive. Another factor these drivers have to overcome, but they are the best in the business. The Race All-Star Series powered by Rocket Phones. Another great weekend, and this one historic. Perhaps, well, I'm not even going to say perhaps, the best driver lineup in any race ever, virtual or real, around Indy, and some incredibly close racing. A double victory from Fernando Alonso, but lots of other battles to talk about. In fact, Jack, one of the ones we didn't touch on maybe enough because there was so much happening at the front, but Emerson Fittipaldi finished 10th place.
Yeah, really great drive from Emo, because he's not been super up to speed compared to everybody else in the sort of street or road course events, but he was really there in the ovals, which is great. The greatest grid ever. It's close between this and like the mid-80s Formula One. You know, when you had Senna, Piquet, Prost, Mansell, that was a vintage era of drivers. Jonathan Palmer, that was a vintage era of drivers. But this is, for me, up there with that of the greatest driving talent, you know, assembled of all time. Amazing stuff.
And I love it, Paul, the fact that we can have these drivers from so many generations actually compete. Like, this isn't something that was possible in the real world.
I'm overwhelmed with how many came today. You know, Memorial Day weekend here in the United States, barbecues are all fired up. They could take their time, be with their families, but they wanted to be here. And I think that speaks a great deal of these guys, the guys who come from IndyCar and the job they're doing.
Yeah, we're just trying to get Fernando on the line right now. I'm sure he's already staring at data and looking at what he can take to Indy in real life because he's that focused. But we'll see if we can get a hold of him. That said, Julian, as someone who hasn't seen Oval, we did see a pretty good performance from Jenson Button, and we unfortunately didn't get to see the best of Solberg, who had the pole. Are you impressed by those guys able to adapt?
Yeah, I'm very impressed. To be honest, Solberg doesn't surprise me because it's all new to Petter Solberg. Driving a 70s Formula One car is probably never something he thought he'd be doing at the start of the year, and he's been quick. But for me, Alonso and Button, super impressive, the two of them. They've just shown huge intelligence as well out there, because it's not about just going quick, but it's about positioning, the tactics of the race. And to me, those two were just a class above the rest of those legends as well in today's racing.
Just while we wait to see if we get Fernando on the line, we'll look at some of the other results as well, because our championship tables have been updated. The pro drivers, the sim masters, obviously championship as well for the legends, but we'll get back to that. First and foremost, the pro category. This was a bit up and down today because Nicky Thiem was in and out and Gutierrez wasn't quite as hot, Jack.
I tell you what, I'm surprised Nicky Thiem is so close to the front of the order after retirement in race 2. Only 11 points behind Gutierrez is a strong effort. I think really now Canapino has knocked himself out of contention. I think we've got Gutierrez, Thiem and Eastwood are going to be the top 3 for the fight. And maybe the Aston Martin drivers will team up and try and wrap up the title together.
Nicky Thiem up. I like that. Here is the manufacturer's title. Obviously very close, but Aston Martin, they've actually taken the lead today.
Yeah, well, Ant Davidson had a tricky time, didn't he? Gutierrez didn't get a huge amount of points and Davidson didn't either. So that's given Aston Martin the advantage there as far as the teams go.
Well, quickly as well, we'll try and take a look here at the sim calculations and how they stack up. Bodo Huis has quite a... Wow, actually, that's a lot closer. Brzezinski has surprised us all, Jack.
Yeah, well, he plays that reverse grid role well, doesn't he? With Jerne Simoncic in third. Siggy is the man who's really dropped away after that reverse grid trial didn't work.
It's just to go back to that point very quickly as we take another break on the TV side, but the fact that Kuba Brzezinski's come through with that strategy, we're almost sleeping on him because Simoncic and Huis looked like the battle. Now that's cracked wide open. It's not the only competition. You can get yourself a new cell phone if you win this one. If you'd like a chance to win a Rocket phone featuring 3D screen technology, just go to rocketphones.com and answer this question. Who are the current Williams Formula One drivers? Not only that, there will be some great offers available exclusively to the race fans on rocketphones.com right now. All you need to do is enter the promo code RACEOFFER and you'll receive a free pair of Rocket earbud headphones worth $44.99 when you buy any phone. You can currently purchase a Rocket IO Pro phone for just £99 or the Rocket IO 3D for just £69, giving race fans a great deal on a new phone. Well, there's a way you can get involved and grab yourself a nice new piece of hardware. It may be virtual, but lots of hardware in use. It's been very cool to see all the different sims that people have been using. But overall, the racing gets closer and closer. Paul, maybe you're the next one that needs to get a sim rig. You see yourself sitting down on one of these sometime?
Let me think. No, I don't think so.
You and Jolien both are out on it then. Jack, it's going to be me and you in the commentators race then.
Yeah, I got my wheel here. I've got to do a bit of testing later.
Hang on,
nice.
Why am I out of the commentators race suddenly?
You're the one that doesn't have a sim rig, you know? You kept saying
that'd be a great idea. That would be good.
Yeah,
I'm up for it.
Your brother's racing, Jolien. I've seen him racing in a Formula 3 race.
Yeah, he is, yeah. He's having a dabble.
So you can just use his, surely?
Yeah, when I get invited to the Legends race, then I'm in. Or the commentators race. Either or.
Paul, you'd have to at least come commentate the commentators race then if we're all going to be busy. It sounds like Jolien's going to be occupied as well.
I'll be honored to do it. And now that I know your personality is much better, I think I'll be insightful in discussing you. I think that's the polite way to speak.
That would be perfect. I think that would be a ton of fun. Maybe we'll have to get something going because we've discussed it a lot. There's a couple of guys that have been very impressive as commentators as well. If you consider Dario Franchitti, maybe Jack, he comes around to beat us and show us how it's really done.
Yeah, maybe. I think the Visa Vegas e-race, a big e-race a couple of years ago, me and Dario, 45 minutes on the sim, I was up by 3/10 on him at the end of that. Never let him forget it either.
Just one lap, though. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
You can lead a man to water, you can't make him drink. But here on the Race All-Star Esports Battle powered by Rocket Phones, we can take Fernando Alonso to the sim world and he'll dominate and show us how to drink from it. That was remarkable. A double win, even when we go in reverse. And he's on the line to tell us how he pulled that off.
Fernando Alonso, thank you very much for joining us. 2 wins at Indianapolis. Were you expecting that?
Not at all. Not at all. First of all, I think it has been super enjoyable last weekend and this week's practice as well. Every night we here with the guys and we chat on the group of WhatsApp and we try to put a good show on the weekends. I'm very new on this. I only received the rig last Thursday before Zandvoort. After 1 week and a half, I'm still playing with some buttons, but it was great today, and obviously I think good fun always the Indianapolis Speedway.
We really enjoyed your fight with Jenson Button in particular in the first race. How did you think you had that one? Because he had the lead going into the last lap almost.
Yeah, no. Obviously, I was super scared of losing the race. I know Jenson is a very smart guy, and we both playing games, trying to be in front or behind and trying to study the other one. But, with Jenson, you never know. He's always one step ahead. And I was very worried that the win could slip. But, it was okay. He had a moment in 10-4, I think 1 lap before the end. And that was enough of a gap in my case.
Great. Congratulations. Thank you very much for joining us. See you next week.
See you, guys. Thanks.
Very, very cool to hear from Fernando and to see how well he did today. Don't forget, we come back for the season finale in a week's time. We wrap up all 3 championships. Fernando likely to be joining us for that as well. He's not in the picture, but Jenson Button is, and Emanuele Pirro might be able to pull it back. Listen, guys, it's been an absolute blast. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
An
Paul.
absolute
You're
treat
more
to
than
have your
welcome.
voice in Indy. And look, I can't wait to do this again next week. So we will see you there when we wrap up the championship and let you know what comes up next. Thanks, everyone.
Welcome to the race.
And the lights are out. Great start then.
The Moto2 champion steps into the team that's dominating the championship.
I'm Scott Mitchell from the race. We're here at Barcelona.
Sebastian Vettel is fighting for his career.
There has to be a title assault, and anything less will be a failure.
Oh, and a spin!
You're off to go, bro.